pressures of your life and it tough. No stay down, mama, time pick it up. No bother with the down, full style, strictly up, full vibes. I pick it up when the bills, them, the rent and the mortgage due. Yeah, yeah. When me chalice, when your best friends are gone and it's only you. Yeah, like up a split, turn up the music. Skanking sweet, everybody wanna feel like free. Forget your troubles and the rock with me. You know feel a reggae music sweet, yeah, yeah. Skanking sweet, everybody wanna feel like free. Forget your troubles and the rock with me. You know feel a reggae music sweet, yeah, yeah. Skanking sweet, for every pain there's a melody, yeah. For every trouble there's a harmony that brings everything together. So make we sing together. And who said life no order? And every man got their struggle. I beg you to help me, Lord, and let me overcome my struggles. Skanking sweet, everybody wanna feel like free. Forget your troubles and rock with me. You know feel a reggae music sweet, yeah, yeah. Skanking sweet, everybody wanna feel like free. Forget your troubles and rock with me. You know feel a reggae music sweet, yeah. Skanking sweet, we skank it till our morning come. Until the day when my troubles are done. Skanking, grooving, hallelujah. Skanking, grooving, help me, Jaja, yeah. Skanking, grooving, under pressure, yeah. Skanking, grooving, under the pressures of your life and it tough. No stay down, mama, time pick it up. No bother with the down, full style, strictly up, full vibes. I pick it up when the bills, them, the rent and the mortgage due. Yeah, yeah. When me chalice, when your best friends are gone and it's only you. Yeah, like up a split, turn up the music. Skanking sweet, everybody wanna feel like free. Forget your troubles and the rock with me. You know feel a reggae music sweet, yeah, yeah. Skanking sweet.
Yes, greetings to ones and ones still. First, I want to give thanks and praise to the Most High. Give thanks for life. Give thanks to Bless Radio. Give thanks every single time. Yes. So I want to give thanks life. Give thanks to our ancestors, our parents. Because the reality is that if it weren't for our parents, we wouldn't be here right now. If it weren't for our grandparents, our parents wouldn't be here. That's why we give thanks. Yes, big up to our man called Raga D. Big up the status every single time. Big up to Leon, the technician. Also big up to Bless the management. See? Also big up to Jammers. Very shortly we're expecting a call from brother Nathan, and a very successful entrepreneur, a businessman, and he teaches all things about finance, how we can be educational, free, financial free, so to speak, freedom by taking action and being responsible and educating ourselves. We can be also about finance. So he'll be sharing some information with us. Based in Birmingham, very successful. And the workshop taking place at 639 this Wednesday, next week Wednesday coming. See? Big up to our man called King, man. Big up your status every single time. Don't forget our Rose lead to Red Bridge Library this Sunday coming. Our Rose leads down here. Red Bridge Library. Also expecting a call from Sister Anne a little bit later on, probably after 7. Also, we'll be freezing with the great man Omowale.
Everybody wanna feel like troubles and the rock rocking. You know, feel a reggae music sweetly. Everybody wanna feel like troubles in the rock way. You know, feel a reggae music sweet. Skanking sweet. So skanking. Everybody wanna feel like forget the troubles in the rock with me. Skanking. Feel a reggae music sweet. Everybody was skanking sweet. Everybody was skanking sweet. Body was skanking sweet. Daddy was skanking sweet. Yeah. I'm gonna be skanking. I'm gonna be skanking. I'm gonna be skanking. Whoa. But in your life never sweet like a chocolate vanilla. Train line my born when I born in a villa. Little monkey watch how you a talk to gorilla car. Che government buy arms get the killer. Two party a flex like a party them in. Accepting presents from foreign government. We still a fool them and a school them and cocky them in. Good God of Moses and Bradley the killer. Poor people fed up and we can't simmer. Can hardly survive as a blasted singer. Much less a baller who is a rat to the winner. Have a right foot like a David Villa. The mother still a selling in a market. The jam rock is a precious stone. Still it's far from a diamond. Take it from Iman. You know Jamaica nights. You gotta live to save your life. After the sunset comes the darkness of the night.
Yes, as I said, this Sunday coming at the Red Bridge Library, we do have Pauline Clark. We'll be talking about the importance of writing a will and look at everything about trust. Also, my brethren Kinsu, we'll be touching the whole thing about mental health, moving from untruth to truth. Sister Anne, we'll be sharing a token, understanding the black man. Lyndon Wizard, the inspired diabetic, and he has cured himself from diabetes. Took him 105 days, and he had type 2 diabetes. So he'll be talking about how he cured himself. Okay, we've got someone on the line here. Let me take this call here. Greetings.
Greetings, brother. This is Nathan.
Nathan, how you been, my brother?
Fantastic. And yourself?
Yeah, well, give thanks. I did say we're gonna have a brother. We'll be speaking. Very successful in terms of the work he does, educating the community in terms of being financially free, um, you know. And this is someone who's done a lot of work, a lot of studying, and it's all paid off because he's very successful and he's trying to share the information with other people how they could be financially free. Um, no, the question we just need to, if you give us a little background about yourself and how you got involved in terms of the whole thing about exchanging money and yeah, on the stock and so forth, and just a little background about yourself and how you got into this the business of educating our community.
Thank you so much, brother. Well, essentially, and let me know if you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, you very clearly. You're very good.
Wonderful. So essentially, I've been on a quest to achieve total life freedom. That's time, location, and financial freedom for the past 13 years. 13 years ago, I decided to get a mentor, and this mentor was actually based in Texas, and he had time and money. He traveled the world. He earned income that worked even when he wasn't working. And he said, and Lathan, unless you figure out a way to get paid whilst you sleep, you're going to work until the day that you die.
Right.
So I really just had a burning desire to not only set myself free, but anyone who came into contact with me. And in the last 2 years, it's allowed me to take over 45 vacations across the world, take my parents away 16 times in the last 10 months, and impact thousands of lives because of what you're about to hear about on next Wednesday, the CEO movement.
Okay then. So, in terms of educating people to the finance, what actually take place? Just give us a little flavor. 'Cause I know we're gonna have a presentation on Wednesday, and it'd be wise people to come and take advantage of the presentation and see how they can. But give us a little flavor. What you do and what you'll be doing Wednesday. Yeah.
Fantastic. So on Wednesday, we're going to be teaching financial literacy. You see, the goal is to win, not to look like you're winning.
Okay.
Unfortunately, in our community, we have the nice car, we have the nice weaves, but we don't have assets. We don't have financial literacy to create and multiply, and really generate that wealth. So on Wednesday, we're going to be showing live how the markets work. They're the money markets, the financial, forex, and cryptocurrency markets. And so we're going to show people how to transition from just being employees or even small business owners to big business owners, having a system, and also being able to be in the top 5% of the world that doesn't trade time for money, but money for money.
Right.
We're going to show people really the skill set, because once you give a man a skill, he'll always have it for life, and he continue to advance it. And essentially, we're going to be teaching people how to turn their phones into ATM machines, because they're going to know how currency works and how to work for you instead of having it work against you.
Okay then. All right. And it's going to be next week, Wednesday at 639. That's at Tottenham High Road, N17. And it's opposite the job centre where there's a sports shop across the road from there. But everybody know where the job centre is, just across the road from there. And what time?
Cafe.
And what time it starts, my brother?
So it's going to be at Bloomington Cafe, and it's going to start from 7 p.m. sharp.
7 p.m. sharp,
until,
okay.
Run up until, say, 9 o'clock. But as I said, really the main factor is people are going to learn the new rules of money. We can't really adapt with the old way of thinking. Our parents have worked hard, now it's time to work smart.
Right. And I understand that people at Les Brown, Bob Proctor, they're involved as well?
Correct. More money makes more money, right? So the most influential individuals on the earth understand that you always need to be smart. You need to put your money to work, and then your money's money to work, right? So people like Les Brown, people like Tony Robbins, people like Ty Lopez.
Well, Tony Robbins involved as well?
Certainly, yeah. And also
I didn't know that. I didn't know Tony Robbins was involved.
Absolutely. Tony Robbins has a book, a very, very good financial book, and one of the forwards was from actually one of our CEOs. So the most important thing is to learn this skill set where you can actually beat the banks at their own game. All right, so you're going to hear from real people getting real results in very, very short period of time. We're not trading for you. You're going to learn the skill set. If you give a man a fish, he's going to eat for a day. But if you teach him how to fish, you're going to eat for the rest of his life. And you guys are going to be taught on Wednesday next week in Bloomington Cafe.
Okay, then that's interesting. That's very interesting. I didn't know people like Anthony Robbins was involved. It was one of my teachers as well, Anthony Robbins. Um,
Oh, fantastic,
yeah, Anthony
fantastic.
Robbins and
Use the power
Les
within.
Brown and Bob Proctor, and they're giants of giants. Okay
Mm,
then, yeah. All right.
absolutely,
Okay then, my
absolutely.
brother. Well, first I want to give thanks for you to join us on the line. Is there like a website so people can get some more information? Or yeah,
Yeah, there's limited spaces. We've been having some incredible inquiries already and DMs on our social media. But if the people take down this website, it's it's on Eventbrite. So it's www dot new money secret. That's new new money secrets plural new money secrets dot eventbrite dot co dot uk. So that's www.newmoneysecrets.eventbrite.co.uk. Reserve your seat, and we want to see you there. And as I was saying about Tony Robbins, a great book to be reading ahead of coming to the event is Money Master the Game, and that's of course from Tony Robbins. So make sure you guys get that book as well ahead of time.
okay then, my brother. Give thanks. You know what I mean?
I appreciate you, my bro. Thank you so much for having me on the call. I look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, give thanks again. Okay then.
Blessings.
One love.
One
Okay,
love.
what a beautiful call from a very beautiful, beautiful brother.
Smile for me, Jamaica, Lord. Hey, she have a rich history. A beautiful woman with the sweetest gifts. Beautiful sunrise and an evening kiss. Of a nice sunset on the evening season. But she tell me, say she tired. Tired of the exploit and the liars. She give them reggae, give them beaches, give them flowers and the ferns. All she got is abuse in return. But I say, don't you worry yourself, mama. Hey, Chronix is here to your help, mama. Ooh, I said, no worry yourself, mommy. One thing me, I beg you do for me. Whoa, whoa, why? Ooh, Lord. Oh, yes, I am. Ooh, I met a girl this morning. She was love at first sight. Ooh, I met a girl this morning, and she was beauty to my eyes. I asked her where she from, she tell me in the topics. She asked me what's my name, I tell her I am Chronix. And I said, girl, tell me what's your name, and she tell me that her name is Jamaica. And I said, smile, girl, smile. Smile for me, Jamaica. And I said, smile, girl, smile. Ooh, Lord, smile for me, Jamaica. Never you cry, here am I. Yeah, I'm here for you, Jamaica. Dry your eyes, girl, smile. Smile for me, Jamaica. Lord, hey, she have a rich history. A beautiful woman with the sweetest gifts. Beautiful sunrise and an evening kiss. Of a nice sunset on the evening season. But she tell me, say she tired. Tired of the exploit and the liars. She give them reggae, give them beaches, give them flowers and the ferns. All she got is abuse in return. But I say, don't you worry yourself, mama. Hey, Chronix is here to your help, mama. Ooh, I said, no worry yourself, mommy. One thing me, I beg you do for me. And I said, smile, girl, smile. Smile for me, Jamaica. And I said, smile, girl, smile. Hey, smile for me, Jamaica. Never you cry, here am I. Girl, I'm here for you, Jamaica. What must I try? Oh, my. That she asks me, and this is what me say. A sweet, sweet Chronix, you fi give them. The one drop beat pan a rhythm. Are you give them bob with a different stepping? Are you give them bolt, nobody can run left him. Boy, but see ya, they must see things say you're out of ideas. You give them art and sweet literature. You gonna make the world see the better picture. I said, no worry yourself, mama. Chronix is here to your help, mama. Hey. yourself, mommy. Oh, one thing me I beg you do for me. And I said smile, yeah, smile, boy. Smile for me, Jamaica. And I said smile, girl, smile. Wah, 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 wah. Smile for me, Jamaica. Never you cry, here am I, whoa. For me, Jamaica. And I said smile, boy. In the days, boy, boy,
The sun shall not smite I by day, nor the moon by night, nor the pestilence that lurks in dark places, nor destruction that wasteth at noonday. The time hath just come.
When I look at where I'm coming from, I know I'm blessed, and I close my eyes and smile. Sometimes I feel like the richest man in Babylon, and I've done my best, so everything's alright inside. Oh, every morning I rise, I stare at the sun. I know it is a blessing, so when the evening comes, I lift up my eyes to this unblessed old man, with my two hands in the air as far as I can. Yeah. As far as I can. Stare at the sun, I know it is a blessing. Yeah.
The sun shall not smite I by day, nor the moon by night, nor the pestilence that lurks in dark places, nor destruction that wasteth at noonday. The time hath just come.
When I look at where I'm coming from, I know I'm blessed, and I close my eyes and smile. Sometimes I feel like the richest man in Babylon, and I've done my best, so everything's alright inside. Oh, every morning I rise, I stare at the sun. I know.
Hello.
Greetings. You good?
Yeah, hi, Brother Dougie. I'm fine, thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, now this time we're gonna have Sister Anne be join us on the line, and Anne, we'll be talking a lot about you. So how you been anyway? How you keeping?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm just looking forward to Sunday. Looking
then.
forward to it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Anne, just give people a little background about yourself and what you'll be talking about this Sunday coming.
Okay, yeah. This Sunday, I'm going to be talking about understanding the black man, and I'm going to present basically a few case studies, a few black men that were referred to me during counselling and psychotherapy, and basically how I was on this journey of becoming a therapist that can work effectively with black men.
Okay.
So I'm going to present that creatively, and I'm also going to, present their story as they would want it to be presented, because they wanted people to know that they went from, no mental health concern to having different issues, and that's because many of them didn't talk about their issue, the problems that they had, difficult thoughts and feelings and problems.
So when you
they're
say
gonna touch
they,
that.
they didn't talk, I mean, what do you mean they didn't talk? Was they depressed or going through some stuff or what?
Yeah, one man that I'm going to talk about, and he actually, I don't know if you could see what was lying ahead for me, but he said if I ever am in a position to share his story, he wanted his story to be shared because he was depressed with work and not getting promotion, jumping through hoops, suppressing anger towards the bosses, he just felt trapped in his work, and he didn't think it was something a man should do to tell his wife, you know, he was in a happy marriage, but he just didn't want to talk about his issues, and he just suppressed everything. And then one day it all caught up with him, and you know, I'm going to touch on his journey and also present some of it creatively through these poetic narratives that I wrote back then to convey what he was going through. And it really does come across powerful because I worked with him for 6 months as well. So that's an awful long time to work with someone weekly. So that was a powerful alliance.
Okay then. All right then. That's fantastic. And as I said, that Anne will be speaking at the Redbridge Library this Sunday coming, Understanding the Black Man. And yeah, that'd be quite interesting because Anne's done a lot of work in this particular area, a lot of studying, and she does work with men, black men. So she's got a lot of insight, and it's very important that people, you know, come out and hear what she has to say, and you know, opportunity for people to ask questions as well and have a reasoning. Yeah, definitely, because you know,
they can ask questions as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting because a lot of people are interested in the lineup because you've got a brilliant blend of people. So, and a lot of people say they're also interested in finding out about the black man. That just seems to be something that people want to hear about as well.
Okay.
As all the other speakers as well. So it's going to be a brilliant day.
Yeah. And just let people know, because we do have a running order, and Anne will be speaking from 1:30. Is it from 1:30 you speak, Anne?
Yeah, I'll be speaking after Mervyn.
No, you're speaking after... Yeah, that's right, after Melvin.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, after Melvin.
Yeah, and I'll be speaking at 1:30.
Yeah, 1:30.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear... and don't miss out, she'll be speaking at 1:30. And the subject matter is Understanding the Black Man. And Mel will be the first speaker. We'll be talking about personal development and the art of self-discovery. So the bottom line, we're starting at 1 sharp, but Anne will be speaking at 1:30.
Yeah, and just to say, Brother Doug, it's Black History Month, and we'll also be celebrating the black man as well. So there'll be lots in there to celebrate the black man and to uplift and to also, you know, acknowledge the black men out there who are like yourselves, who are doing the work and stuff like that. So the media doesn't tend to represent black men in their true light. So that's what we're doing as well. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, well, again, give thanks for coming out on your busy schedule to join us and to share some information. And I encourage many people to come out and hear your presentation. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely, it's going to be a positive one, and a learning experience. Yeah.
Okay then. Give thanks again. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Dougie.
Thank you very much, my sister.
Okay then.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Okay then. Our sister Anne, as I said, she'll be speaking on this Sunday coming, and subject matter is Understanding the Black Man. See? So nothing's happening about the place.
With my 2 hands in the air as far as I can. Yeah.
The sun shall not smite I by day, nor the moon by night, nor the pestilence that lurks in dark places, nor destruction that wasteth at noonday. The time hath just come.
When I look at where I'm coming from, I know I'm blessed, and I close my eyes and smile. Sometimes I feel like the richest man in Babylon, and I've done my best, so everything's alright inside. Oh, every morning, I rise, I stare at the sun. I know it is a blessing. So when the evening comes, I lift up my eyes to this unblessed old man, with my 2 hands in the air as far as I can. As far as I can. I'm blessed, oh man. Ooh. Sometimes I'm lost and far from home, but I'll find my way. I follow my heart, I know I'll be found someday. While I'm lost, I learn and live. What do you say? Let's have a good time until that day. Oh, every morning I rise, I stare at the sun. I know it is a blessing. So when the evening comes, I lift up my eyes to this. I'm blessed, oh man. With my two hands in the air as far as I can. Lift up my eyes to this, I'm blessed, oh man. With my two hands in the air as far as I can. Yeah, as far as I can. I can, yeah. My two hands in the air as far as I can.
First, I want to give thanks, and again we're in Tony's barbershop, the Conscious Barbershop in Tottenham, and we give thanks to Tony to give us the space to express ourselves. And inside the house we have the great man, Brother Gregor, the Prophet. Give thanks, you know. And we was talking to him a little bit earlier on. And what I want to do, Greg, I want to talk a bit more about the organisation, in terms of the road organisation. In terms of, I know that something like this needs security, stewards, and obviously we want people to, it's a volunteer thing and so forth. But I want to mention a bit about the committee. But earlier on we did mention about the outreach workers, and I met Sister Julie. In fact, I see them working Saturday down in Earl's Court, one of our colleagues there. But just a little bit about the committee and who's involved and etc.
Well, the committee is made up of a group of people from different organisations. So we're all part of different organisations, but we come together to facilitate the march.
Okay.
So because a lot of people don't realise that it takes a lot to put a march of this magnitude on, and it takes money as well. And it takes quite a bit of money. Just to congregate at Windrush Square, we have to pay for that. To congregate at Parliament Square, we have to pay for that.
So you just have to pay to be at that.
Yeah. You also have to pay to speak, to make noise.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. Then we have to get PA systems. Yeah. Then we need stewards. And we're calling out for anybody who has security skills. And we're talking African people now.
Yeah.
We need to secure our people.
Yeah.
And it would be good for our brothers and sisters who are good at martial arts.
Okay.
You know, whether they're boxers or they're martial arts, anything like that, to come forward to give us a hand in securing the day. You know, we can't afford to pay nobody no money because we now make no money out of it. Yeah. But what we can do, we possibly can feed people. I think that's the least we can, we may be able to do. So we're trying to fundraise to get funds to pay for all these things.
Okay then. So in terms of the committee, because you said the committee from different organisations, I'd imagine there's I remember last time when I went to the meeting, I guess someone from Bristol?
Yeah, the co-chair is from Bristol.
Yeah.
And we have somebody outside of London as a co-chair, specifically because there's people outside of London, because our people don't just exist in London.
Yeah.
They exist in Leeds and Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham, Luton, Nottingham, Northamptonshire, Yorkshire, all them places are people out there. So the sister that's the co-chair, Sister Jendai, from Bristol, she's the co-chair, along by myself who's the co-chair. Then we have two co-vice chairs. We have Sister Esther O'Shea and Brother Prophet Jabi. And we also have our security, Brother Extra, Brother Obun. We have our finance officers, which is Brother Shanga and Sister Zebi. And we have our secretary, which is Sister Toya.
Okay.
We have our media man, which is Brother Delani. So there's quite a few, about 7 of us, who's kind of organising and this and that, and then we work with the outreach workers, which is Sister Julia, Adrian, and those people.
Okay. So the outreach workers now, they just basically on the street, just letting people know about the
getting the information out to our people,
okay,
to let our people know what is happening and how they can get involved in assisting to make the day successful. But the day is only going to be successful if our people come out and come and support it. And it's one day in the year. And what I would like to say, what I didn't get to say earlier, is that if you cannot make that day, if you can't make that day, it's not an issue. Because sometimes things happen in life. But wherever you are, if it means you have to go to slavery, if it means that you have to the hospital, or you have one pipe, whatever that may be, at 3 p.m. that afternoon, we're doing a 3-minute silence to our ancestors. And that's in conjunction and solidarity with the African Remembrance Day Committee.
Okay then.
Yeah, because they do something.
What time that be at 3 o'clock?
3 p.m. So wherever you're there, don't matter where you're there, if you're in at the bank and you just have to go cash some money or pay some bill, just ease off at 3 o'clock. And 3-minute silence, and just venerate, just remember those that came before. Be if it's any personal members of your family, or things that you've read about, or somebody in our story that gave you inspiration.
Right.
Think about them, meditate on them, and let's all meditate together on making it a better place for us as African people. Because we don't realize how strong psychological spirituality is if we're in sync in together, thinking about the same thing. We can will it into power, into existence.
Okay. Because one of the questions I was going to ask you is, for the interview done, is in terms of
I'm listening. Go on.
Yeah, on that day there, we should be should we spend our money with the within the system, so to speak?
No, we shouldn't. We shouldn't.
Yeah. Okay.
We should be if it means on that particular day, just spend your money with our people.
With our people, yeah.
And I want to send a personal message out to African businesses. Whether you're African Caribbean or African from the continent or African Ubuni, because some of you have a problem calling yourselves Africans. But let me just send it out to our African brothers and sisters, black people, that the African businesses, they want our people to support them, but you must get used to supporting African causes. If every African business gave us £20 towards this march, we would have no problems putting it on. But we have to find it from our own pocket. And some of we don't work and all them things there. Some of we have our own financial difficulties too. Because we have to have a liability insurance for that day. Yeah? And we have to...
So you have to pay for liability?
Yeah, you have to have liability. They will not allow you to do that magnitude of a march without liability insurance.
I understand that. Yeah?
So we have to have the minimum of a cover of £5 million. Minimum. Because supposing it kick off and something mash up and all them things there. You see my deal? So you have to, of course, supposing something happened to somebody. So you have on your mark, you have to be covered. So we have to pay for that. You follow what I'm saying? Yeah? We need Portaloos. Nobody now will give you the Portaloo them for free.
Portaloo, okay.
Yeah? We have to pay for that.
Yeah.
We have to pay Lambert Council for permission for gather at Windrush Square. Then we have to pay them for talk. Yeah, we have to pay them for gather down on Parliament.
I'm glad you mentioned.
And then you have to pay for March too.
March too, because people not really aware that you have to pay for these things. Yet.
You have to pay for these things.
Yeah,
these things cost money.
Yeah,
you understand? So none of us ain't getting rich out of it, but you have to pay for it. So we've been putting on a series of orientations. We had one in North London last week. We had one in Bristol on Sunday gone. We've had a couple over in South London. And the money that we get from there is what we're using to try and make these things happen.
Okay then. Suppose someone wants to donate. Is there a account they can?
They can go to GoFundMe.
GoFundMe, okay.
Yeah, GoFundMe. The march, and they can donate to the GoFundMe thing. I can get you I can get it up on my phone and get you the correct thing. But if they go to the March UK, if they go to the March August, the Fiesta book, all the information is there. Or you can go www.stopthemangameezy.com. Yeah, MANGAMEEZI.com, and all the information is there. They can tell you how you can donate money to, or you can call this number for more information. 07597 592 882. You notice how slow I did it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Because I know people that run for them. So we did it again. 07597 592 889. Or you can log on to stopthemangameezy.com, or you can go on the March Argos. Okay. London, and they come up on the Facebook and you see, and all the information you need is there.
And this same applies that people want to get involved in, I would say, the security, etc. There's gone the
and you know what? Yeah. We need security, yeah? We need security, and we need our people to come out and don't be looking for no money and come here. Some people check them, boy, how much you have paid for the day and all them things. I'm not asking nobody. I'm not gonna pay nobody, and I don't have no money personally. And they commit to win out of money personally to go pay you to save yourself. Because this is about the whole of we as a people. And each of us who has particular skills must send them skills and share them skills with the people.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You understand me I say?
For that day, yeah, definitely.
For that one day, because you go come and ask we. Yeah? There's an account as well that they can pay straight into. Right? The account number, and it's Lloyd's Bank, and the account number is 376 717 68. That's the account number. I repeat again. 376 717 68, and the SART code is 30 99 14. 30 99 14, and the account is called A for Alpha, S for Sugar, R for Roger Funds.
Okay.
I should say A for Africa, S for size, R for Ra, Funds. Yeah? And you can donate directly, and even if it's just £1, because if every one of our people gave us £1,
you're down clear, man.
We're nice.
We're nice.
Yeah?
Well, let me just jump here on the march, because what time people supposed to turn up and
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, and give a little flavour of what's to expect, because
you turn up at 9 o'clock. We gather in.
I said Brixton there.
At Brixton Windrush Square.
Alright.
I'm right near where the Ritzy Cinema there. And we're going to congregate there. We're going to be having stalls, so people will have stalls there. So if you want a stall, the number I mentioned earlier, you can call that number. And if you want a stall, you can get a stall down there. It's £100 for a stall. So if you want a stall, you can get
£100 for the day.
For the day, for the whole day. Because we're going to be there from 9 in the morning. We're going to be there in the morning. We will pour libation and then we'll have a couple of speakers, and then we're going to move off at around 11:30, 12 o'clock. Yeah, we get down to Parliament Square, we congregate. Yeah, and then we have a few speeches. Then we're going to go on and hand in the petition.
And the petition, okay.
Yeah. But what we do, depending on the time that we reach there, if we reach it early enough, we'll hand it in because there's a specific time we have to hand in the petition.
What time is the petition?
Well, we tell them the time we're coming.
Oh, so if the time is 10, that's the time you got to hand it in?
Yeah, that's the time.
Okay, so you're saying, yeah.
So we make a remember what we're going to do at 3 o'clock at Parliament. We're going to do a 3-minute silence to our ancestors.
Okay.
Then we hand in the petition, yeah, and then we have some more speakers, and then we march back to Brixton.
Okay. And what's going to take place at Brixton? Some more?
Yeah, we're going to have some spoken word artists.
Okay.
And things like that. We will have we had Akala last year. You call Akala, and we're going to have a few more. Nobody Akala. But nobody ain't confirmed yet. Nobody ain't confirmed yet, but we're going to have a few. We're going to have some people coming to speak and addressing our people about certain things, and we'll just be there until around about 9 o'clock.
Okay. So it's like an all-day.
Is that all-day thing?
All-day team. And you're going to be at Brixton Town, or where's it going to be?
No, it's going to be outside.
Outside in the square.
Yeah, in the square itself. Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, well, that'd be powerful, man.
Yeah, because see, we didn't want to go into all.
Well, last year, if I'm not mistaken, you was in was it Brixton Town?
No, we didn't go in the town. No, we stayed in the square. The year before that, 2014.
Oh yeah,
when it was first done.
Yeah.
We went in the town, but it was too packed.
It was too packed. Yeah.
It couldn't hold.
Yeah.
You know. And you know, we know so raw shine them light pan with the day they got nice and things like it was last year. And so therefore we just want to take in, you know, the vitamin D from the sun.
Okay then.
You understand?
Okay then. Well, I just want to talk about you now, because I know you've been working tirelessly, because you last was at Bristol.
Was at Bristol, yeah. Esther, O'Shea and me.
Yeah.
Myself, we and Sister Jendai, we were facilitating a workshop in Bristol last night.
Okay then.
Yeah, well, yesterday afternoon.
Okay then. So I mean, like you said, now you've been probably running around just trying to mobilise people and educate people, and your objective really is to get people, as many people to come to the march, right? But yourself physically, how you feeling, man? Because this is
it is draining. It's not actually physically draining. It's mentally
draining, yeah.
And when you're mentally drained, you get very tired. You know?
Tired, okay.
But it's a work that has to be done. Because see, this conversation, and this is what we're doing, is not a first thing. And it's not a first conversation we've had. This conversation was being had when they kidnapped us. We was having this conversation on the ship when we were planning to overthrow them. When we got to where they took us, we was having that conversation down in the dungeon and in the cell. We was having that conversation on the auction block. We was having that conversation in the plantation. Yeah? That's why we bond down. And let me just tell people, no white man no free we, you know. No European no free we as Africans, you know. We free ourselves, you know. We force them to the table. Yeah? And the documentation is there for you to see. Study the Haitian Revolution, 1791 to 1804. Study Nani of the Maroons and the Nani of that's Nani Maroons in Jamaica and Barbados. Study Basha of Barbados. Study Nat Turner.
So
yeah, and all more Africans that wrote. Study Palmares in Brazil.
Okay then.
You understand?
Yeah.
Study all them things, and you know, so we forced them to change their tactics. They didn't stop doing what they're doing, you know. They didn't change them tactics. So the physicality in terms of how they used to, openly, just do certain things to it. Them couldn't do that again because you're upset in the workforce.
Okay, we got a few minutes left, right? And what I want to do, because one of the challenges we have that we become very complacent now, right? You know, we have a job, people do their own thing, and stuff like this. Now people not really interested, right? So what I want to do is spend, probably less than 2 minutes, right? Is to convince people why they should come out on August the 1st.
I'll tell you why you should come out on August the 1st. Because if you love your children, and it doesn't mean if you never bring no children in the world, you don't have them. Because in African culture, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah,
And all children as well. So your nieces and nephews, your children, they're your responsibility. That's how it used to be as African people. You remember when we were growing up, your cousin them were like your brother and sister. That's how you live. But now, it's gone separated now. We have become Eurocentric in our mentality and in our cultural practices. So you need to come out on that day to save the future of African people on the planet Earth and here in Britain. Because our children are being attacked. They're being attacked in the schools. They're being attacked in the streets. They're even attacking themselves.
That's right.
So if you love your children and you want a future for them, you come that day and you bring your children with you. Yeah? Because it's a family affair.
On that the note there, well, give thanks, man.
Give thanks, man. I'm going to come back again.
Yeah, man, no, don't yourself, man. Come again.
Start talking.
Alright, so give thanks. Alright.
Well, earlier this month, the Caribbean nations approved a plan to seek reparations from the former slaving nations, including Britain, for the victims of slavery, slave trading, genocide, and racial apartheid. And as a first step, they've engaged the British firm of solicitors who won £20 million compensation for the Kenyan victims of torture by the British during the Mau Mau rebellion in the 1950s. Should we pay reparations for slavery, for the evil of slavery? Esther. Morning, Esther. Well, let me ask you first, because what's really fascinating about this, and what a lot of people have not really focused on, are the ongoing effects. I mean, there is something that you've spoken about before, intergenerational transmission of trauma. Tell me about that.
Yes, well, basically, slavery and genocide has impacted not only the historical populations that were kidnapped from Africa, but also those of us who are the descendants of the enslaved today. And it's not only about trauma and multi-generational oppression. The whole discussion around wealth, there has been unjust enrichment to Britain, and there's also been unjust impoverishment, which has been passed on throughout the generations. So part of the legacy is this huge inequality that we see today between the descendants of the enslavers and the descendants of the enslaved.
And what about and psychological scars which have had societal effects, ongoing economic effects, to which you've already said? What are the psychological scars?
Well, part of that...
Intergenerational.
Intergenerationally, it's not knowing who we are. It's a lack of connection, it's a lack of identity, a lack of nationhood, which is what makes us human beings, essentially. It's not being rooted, it's being considered minority populations when we come from global majorities. And it's about having second-class status and citizenship wherever we have been located as a result of this dispersal and depopulation that happened originally in Africa.
And there is a phenomenon as well that you believe really does exist, which is post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Yes, well, it's something that I've not coined, but many of our social theorists and psychologists and psychiatrists have been looking at some of the negative legacies that we have internalized, the internalization of racism, self-hate, anti-African sentiments and prejudice and discrimination, a loathing of ourselves, vacant esteem.
Self-loathing.
Yeah. Self-loathing. Self-loathing in terms of not being proud of who we are, not being proud of our heritage, not being proud of our African ancestry, changing our looks to kind of emulate Caucasian beauty ideals. These are some of the real legacies today in terms of the psychology. We also have to look at the rates of mental health illness, and this has also been linked to that.
All roots back to slavery.
All roots back to that.
Can I ask you as well, Fern, as you're there, I mean, you don't know each other, but it's wonderful you're both on the programme today, how it has affected, I mean, how has it affected you, Fern, slavery, you now, a woman in 2014?
Well, it's very important what Esther's been saying about post-traumatic slave syndrome and the trauma that's caused down the ages. And it has affected me because I've needed people to help me to get to where I am today. And I think if they hadn't done that, I wouldn't be talking to you today.
So you've been lucky in that?
I've been very lucky in that I've been helped to be where I am today by people who are aware of the problems that Esther has raised.
And as a successful academic, that's something you've had to battle against what happened back then.
I've had to battle against racism in particular.
But as a result of slavery.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Daniel Hannan, one of the things, of course, which is most egregious about this, many argue, is the fact that the slavers at the time of abolition, in 1838, I think, were paid enormous amounts of money, huge amount paid to the slave owners, equivalent of at least £16.5 billion today. So why shouldn't the people who are still suffering have reparations?
Because I'm descended from slaves, and you are descended from slaves, and everybody here is, and everybody watching at home is. Slavery was universal. We're all also, by the way, descended from slave owners. Human history being what it is, it could hardly be otherwise. Slavery was practiced in China, in India, in Arabia, in Africa, by the Aztecs, by the Mayans, by the Incas, by the Pacific Islanders. Muslims enslaved Christians, Christians enslaved Muslims. And therefore, if you're looking at paying reparations, anyone whom you choose to pay is statistically certain to be descended both from the owners and the owned. There were 3,000 black slave owners in the US on the eve of the Civil War. We are, if you like, all in this together. And it's therefore very difficult now to look at a population. I'm not talking about continuing slavery, which is a huge issue and where we could be doing a great deal. But if you're looking at past slavery, it's just a question of how far back you want to go, and we're all slaves.
No, we're not all descendants of, enslaved peoples and enslavers. I think that is really, falsifying history, and it actually is minimising the seriousness of what we're actually talking about. Chattel enslavement, as happened to African peoples and people of African descent, is something different and unparalleled in human history. And that's the starting point for this conversation. It's very cheap to then say, well, we've all been enslaved, because right now I don't have the same life chances and life experiences of many people who might even be sitting in this audience. I feel we need to understand this history. I'm not saying that we haven't all been impacted, but just to say, well, we've all been impacted the same is really not the starting point.
Yeah, and Bernadette, and I'm sure if anyone wants to make a point...
I'm going to play devil's advocate here, so get the tomatoes out and start throwing it now. Look,
has it affected you? Okay, let me ask.
No, and this is it. I think we really have to be careful here. Has all that got to do with slavery, being in a mental institution? I am a champion, a volunteer. I'm a motivational speaker that visits prisons twice a week. Now, some of the lads in there, their crimes are not for because I was a slave 150 years ago. I think at some point, yes, of course we all know slavery was there. My God, bad things happen. Bad things happened to me once, but it's what I do. You don't walk around with it. You have to move on. We've got to rise above it now and start moving on and thinking, OK, what are we going to do in the next 150 years so that our children can see, this happened to my great-great-grandfather, but wow, look what they've done now. We've got to start rising above this and get away from you owe me this, you owe me that, and going back. Look, of course, every black person knows it's really difficult in certain...
What about the people that have profited, the families that are still enriched because of this?
Again, we know...
Millionaire.
So I live in Dorset. What am I going to do? Knock on all the manor houses in Dorset and say, right, give me a room for the night, mate. Hello, where does it fit in? Yes, they know they are. Some of them are named and shamed, Nikki. They're all in Google. You can see who they are. They have been named and shamed. Almost an apology was made by Tony Blair. Yes, an apology. But the trouble is no British government is going to apologise because that would open the floodgates.
Fern, come on. Audience, put your hands up, Fern.
Almost an apology. Apology was not made by Tony Blair. He said
he expressed regret. Yeah.
Well, that's not an apology.
But there's a reason why. We know. I'm a realistic person. Let's be honest. It'll be another 150 years before they actually apologise and hand out cheques. And how are they going to do it?
Well, we're not asking for cheques to be handed out. It's not about money. That cheapens the debate.
Yes, I know.
It's not about money.
But if they apologise, you do realise the implications of if you apologise.
The legal implications.
Well, for legal implications. Then the compensation. When my great-great-great-father, he was... How are we going to do it, you see? How are we going to do it?
That's not what CARICOM are asking for. CARICOM are asking for the first time ever, that the Western nations that were involved, such as the UK, France, Portugal and so on, sit around the table with 15 heads of government and talk about the issues that plague us now.
And then what?
But the issues that plague us now, what has that got to do with slavery? Because, I mean, my dad was 85, God bless him, when he died last year. That never stopped him. He's a millionaire. He worked hard, 7 days a week.
This is why we need education. It's very important. One of the things that CARICOM talk about is education.
But what has that got to do with slavery 150 years ago? Education, my dad educated me. 5 girls, we got educated. Not one of us actually would have gone wrong. I think all 5 of us has done well.
The point,
I don't understand.
The point to recognise here is that we're not talking about something that happened 150 years ago. We're talking about the current impact of slavery, colonialism and neo-colonialism, which brings us right here into the here and now. That's what we're talking about.
In the okay, I know you want to come back on that. Hands up in the audience, please. Let's get some quick points. Yes, you've had your hand up for quite some time. Good morning.
Sorry, in terms of discussing whether they, like African Caribbean countries, should get reparation, it's saying that we've all been enslaved before, then why can't you, one question to that is, why can't you correct it and show that it's not right by doing that? Also, the money that does go back to schemes, and it is absolutely insane to assume that slavery hasn't got an impact. It's also like saying, oh, I've made it, so why can't you? You could look at victims of domestic violence and say, okay, you've made it in life, why haven't you? The trauma on those children and those children, people could, you could feel empowered.
Do you believe in an intergenerational transmission of trauma? Do you think
I do,
what happened to your forefathers? Yeah.
100%. And also because it's, if you're in an environment where there was self-hate, the problem is, you brainwashed Caribbeans, Africans, etc., and told them, you know, you're slaves, you're slaves, you're slaves. You didn't unbrainwash them. You didn't take it out of them. It has to be us building ourselves in order to remove that mindset. And society also has to open its mind. But you need schemes, you need things in place. We need economic power as well.
Okay, let's address that in a minute. Anyone else who wants to just make a quick point? Over here, there was someone. I'm sure there was some more hands up. But yeah, gentleman at the back, quick one.
I think the economic legacy now, you're talking about Jamaica, which is spending more money repaying debt repayments than they are spending on education and health. Exactly. So how are the Caribbean countries going to move out from there when they expect to do that? Yeah. Talking about the freedom for countries.
And that cancellation of debt is one of the CARICOM demands, isn't it?
That's one of the things they're arguing for.
And that would have a massive impact, would it?
It would do, but what we actually recognise, it goes beyond debt cancellation because the debts are illegitimate debts. It's debt repudiation. The people of the Caribbean didn't owe anything, and the reason why these debts were imposed on them is in itself a legacy of colonialism that must be corrected.
Daniel Hannan.
Well, I just wanted to come back to Esther's point that Britain was different. That, OK, we're all descended from slaves, the Greeks did it, the Romans did it, but the UK...
The Muslim slave trade, of course,
Muslim slave trade,
15 million people were enslaved.
Yeah. Between 11 and 17 million Africans traded by Muslims. But let's just focus on what makes Britain different. What makes Britain different is that we extirpated this disgusting business. We were pouring energy, not into just the abolition in our own territory, but in wiping out the slave trade. Even when we were in a life and death struggle against Napoleon, we were diverting ships and men to stamp out the transatlantic trade, from which we derived no diplomatic gain, no profit, because it was the right thing to do. So if Britain is different, it's different in a very good way.
It's not. Actually, we talk about abolition, but we don't talk about Britain's commencement into this whole process of enslavement.
That's because we didn't commence it.
1562.
That's because we didn't commence it. It had been happening forever.
1562. All the wealth that was generated that helped to make Britain great, so-called, the British Empire, all of this came from enslavement and colonialism and ill-gotten gains.
Nor the moon by night, nor the pestilence that lurks in dark places, nor destruction that wasted at midday. The time hath just gone.
When I look at where I'm coming from, I know I'm blessed, and I close my eyes and smile. Sometimes I feel like the richest man in Babylon, and I've done my best, so everything's alright inside. Oh, every morning, I rise, I stare at the sun. I know it is a blessing. So when the evening comes, I lift up my eyes to this unblessed old man, with my 2 hands in the air as far as I can. at the sun, I know it is a blessing. Yeah. Lift up my eyes to the hills, I'm blessed, oh man. Ooh. Sometimes I'm lost and far from home, but I'll find my way. I follow my heart, I know I'll be found someday. While I'm lost, I learn and live. What do you say? Let's have a good time until that day. Oh, every morning I rise, I stare at the sun. I know it is a blessing. So when the evening comes, I lift up my eyes to the hills, I'm blessed, oh man. With my two hands in the air as far as I can. Stare at the sun, I know it is a blessing. Yeah. Lift up my eyes to the hills, I'm blessed, oh man. With my two hands in the air as far as I can. Yeah. As far as I can. I can, yeah. My two hands in the air as far as I can. With my two hands in the air as far as I can.
The time has just come.
There are two dimensions to repairs or reparations, internal and external. Internal is what we owe ourselves, how we have to reclaim our agency and our self-determination.
But do what the Jewish community does then, and light candles and pass the...
No, they do more than that. There was the establishment of the State of Israel and billions of dollars to maintaining it in terms of compensation. It wasn't just about lighting candles.
Well, should we feel guilty?
No, this is not about a guilt complex. It's not about white guilt.
But if you've got,
shame.
if you have a transmission, an intergenerational, I have to write it down because it's kind of
trauma.
Intergenerational transmission of trauma
and depression.
Is there then? I mean, there was a story recently about Dominic Cumberbatch's great grandfather, whether was a slave owner. There are others. Is there an intergenerational transmission of guilt?
Well, I think so, and I think that's part of why this debate gets shut down and why it gets minimised. But that's not what we want. What we want is a conversation so that there can be greater understanding in British society as to how we've come to be where we are.
So that's about history. What we need then to tidy up history, put things that were deleted back in. Black History Month, this is about our community helping one another and passing the world on rather than going back, you owe me this, you owe me that. We need to sort ourselves out first and then we can spread the word.
Well, it's both, actually. It's not one or the other. It's both internal and it's both the fact that there are people today, families today, institutions in Britain today that are basically surviving on, thriving on ill-gotten gains, capital, wealth, assets.
But can you ever see a moment
when it is over?
Well, there can only be over
Well, let her answer. You asked the question. Here's the answer.
Only when there is justice, and there hasn't been justice.
What does that look like?
Why is it so hard to recognise the justice cause of people of African descent? There's a huge amount of complicity in this.
Ben Phillips.
Are we less than human beings?
No,
is that
I
what
think
you're
we're
saying?
confusing all of
Does
it.
everyone else have a right to a recognition of their experience, but we must just forget it and move on? Is that what we're really saying? Is that what Britain is about?
For a long time, and people from minority communities fought heroically for the right for everyone to be treated the same. Equality under the law is one of the things that defines this country and that should make us all very proud, which is why I find it very sad to hear you arguing that we should be treated differently.
Equality under the law, that's on paper, statute. Why do we still have discrimination?
Okay, Ben.
Why is there huge income inequality?
Yeah, Ben, that's
wealth inequality.
an issue
still.
that Ben is very much focused on, as we heard from the previous debate. Should this be, given the horror of it, and I remember not knowing much about it, read a couple of books on the Atlantic slave trade, and they just jaw-droppingly evil and horrific. People being thrown off boats as if they were cargo for insurance purposes. It's just egregious and wicked in the extreme. Should this be a priority?
It was a shockingly evil part of history. You know, the reason the boats had to keep going was because the women could no longer give birth, because they had been so ill-treated that they were no longer fertile. And even today, the poorest parts of Africa are those parts from which the slaves were taken. Even today, the latest statistics show that the poorest parts of Africa...
DRC, CAR...
and the West African coast remain the poorest parts. So the consequence of this horrible history is still felt today. Yeah. And so anything that people can do, both to acknowledge that injustice, but also to make the world a better place, a fairer place, is a good thing to do. Aid is right, in part, because we are atoning for our history, and also because it means kids in school and kids alive who would otherwise be dead. So the work towards a just world and a world that recognises history is so important, and I think Esther's really set it out very well today.
Thank you all very much indeed. And that cancellation of debt is one of the CARICOM demands, isn't it?
That's one of the things they're arguing for.
And that would have a massive impact, would it?
It would do, but what we actually recognise, it goes beyond debt cancellation, because the debts are illegitimate debts. It's debt repudiation. The people of the Caribbean didn't owe anything, and the reason why these debts were imposed on them is in itself a legacy of colonialism that must be corrected.
Daniel Hannan.
Well, I just wanted to come back to Esther's point that Britain was different. That, OK, we're all descended from slaves, the Greeks did it, the Romans did it, but the UK...
The Muslim slave trade, of course,
Muslim slave trade,
15 million people were enslaved.
Yeah. Between 11 and 17 million Africans traded by Muslims. But let's just focus on what makes Britain different. What makes Britain different is that we extirpated this disgusting business. We were pouring energy, not into just the abolition in our own territory, but in wiping out the slave trade. Even when we were in a life and death struggle against Napoleon, we were diverting ships and men to stamp out the transatlantic trade, from which we derived no diplomatic gain, no profit, because it was the right thing to do. So if Britain is different, it's different in a very good way.
It's not. Actually, we talk about abolition, but we don't talk about Britain's commencement into this whole process of enslavement.
That's because we didn't commence it.
1562.
That's because we didn't commence it. It had been happening forever.
1562, all the wealth that was generated that helped to make Britain great, so-called, the British Empire, all of this came from enslavement and colonialism and ill-gotten gains. And it links to this modern discussion around inequality and the huge gap between the nations, not only in terms of Britain, but also the rest of the world, and in particular, Africa and the Caribbean.
We've got someone on the line here. Greetings.
Greetings, Brother Dougie.
How you been? You good?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you.
All right. You're a bit low. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's me. I'm not talking loud enough?
No, it's not. It could be on our side of stuff. Can you just talk a little bit louder, please?
Yes, I don't mind shouting a bit.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear, but it's low though.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. I don't know. Hang on, just bear me a second. See if I can put a little bit of volume on this. Okay, talk.
Hello.
Okay, go on,
Can you
go
hear
on.
me?
Talk now. Yeah, go on.
Okay, that's better. Yes. And anyway, I just phoned in because I know you've got your event coming up on Sunday, and I'm just saying that I'm going to make every effort to be there,
Mm.
and I'm hoping that others will follow suit because your lineup you have with Annette, um, can't remember all the names.
You got
Annette,
Melvin Barrett,
Melvin Barrett,
Lyndon,
Lyndon Wizard, Jammers, uh,
Vasco,
yeah, Vasco, and anyway,
and there's a Jenny
your
Russell.
lineup,
Yeah, and
yeah,
Kinsu as well. Yeah, we've got a big lineup.
yeah, a big lineup, and I think if you've got so many professionals in one place, we need to support the event, especially an event that is dealing in many different areas, because in life generally there are many things that are happening, but something always gets left out. But it would seem that you have covered quite a few areas that people can be working on that's going to make a difference. Obviously, what you've put on is, our heritage and legacy, which we have to do, which we have to be thinking about doing seriously. Because if we are not setting our future generations up, setting that foundation, we're heading for problems as we can sort of see right now. And it's important for us to be addressing that so that the next generation coming up aren't just floundering around in the dark trying to make their way when they should be able already to be on that road to in leading and doing the best that they can for themselves, whether it be on the whether it's on the mental side, whether it be on the health side, understanding your body, understanding food, understanding that when we make children, that they are dependent upon us and we do need to be providing for them. So that's why, for me, it's exciting that you've got this lineup on Sunday, and I'm just calling in to say that I feel it's very important that our people, anybody, and I say the human race should not run out there, but go and support. Your event isn't overly expensive. It's £1. With that pound, you're getting so many different speakers, or you can choose if you want. Really nice if you can support all of them, but if you get there and the ones that you want, go out there and listen to what they have to say, and not only listen, but it's important to take action from what you're getting, because you can put on all the seminars in the world, but if we're not taking action from what we've learned, then it's just falling on deaf ears. It means absolutely nothing, because you're just procrastinating and sitting down doing nothing, and then wondering, why am I not getting further or not getting anything, or why are we still suffering, as what we talk about with we've been here from since Windrush and before, long before that, however many years we've been here. But yet other races have come after us and already have established, buildings, properties, and all the rest of it. Whereas we did establish property, then they came knocking on our door and saying, "Oh, well, we can give you a certain amount of money for your property." We sell up, and now we can't even touch them. But
That's right.
what did you do with that money? Did you use that money to help your next generation, or did you just take that money and squander it? When you were dying, or when your previous family members that had died, did they leave in a will that so much of their money or whatever they're having should be passed on to other members that are coming? Sometimes in our family, there are some family members we don't like. There's some family members that have just come to try us, right? And because they try us, we just think, well, I'm not going to leave anything for them. You don't have to leave for them, but you leave for others, so that your future generation can step up and step on and move on and develop, because that is where we need to be looking at ourselves, whether it be mentally, physically, health, um, all the other things, even growing our own food, making effort to have fresh food as much as we possibly can, because that's what Lyndon is going to be, Lyndon Wizard is going to be talking about, how, you know, your food be your medicine, medicine be your food. Each one teach one. You've got to, you know, have more of that understanding of self, because the food in which you put into your system, it doesn't choose where it's going to go. But if you're eating the right foods, it will sustain you and keep you going. Your body is made to last for 900 years, but because of some of the things that we're consuming or that we're being bombarded with, it's deteriorating sooner or quicker than expected. But we do need to be working on the health issues. And because of the stress of life, it then affects us mentally. So eat the food that's going to strengthen your mind, which is not only eating the food, but train your muscle, your mind, your brain is a muscle, and it needs an exercise so that it can function properly to keep you going. So I don't know. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on,
No,
on
no,
all the
but I mean
different
the
topics.
point you're making is a very valuable point. I'm really glad you have to phone in and paint the picture in the mind, the value of what's taking place, because let's face it, you got eight eight speakers, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight speakers, right? Who are top of their game, right? Top of the best speakers in the country, and you're only paying £1. Come on, man, you know. So we're saying to people that you need to come in and hear them. You might, I mean, it's not really. It might not be possible for people to stay all day, but at least hear 3 or 4 of the speakers them, and and get the information, and empower yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And don't forget, there's opportunity for people to shop as well, so the money goes back into the community. There is an African market, so what you're getting is really
Value for money.
value for money. That's it. Really value for money. But it's not about making money. It's about really for people to take advantage and empower themselves. You know, that's what it really is about, empowering themselves, so we can have a more productive and a healthier community. Because when you think about it, all things what's going on, 'cause all you hear these days is gun and knife crime, gun and knife crime, gun and knife crime. Yes, we do have to probably touch
Address
on it and
that.
talk about it. Personally, I try not to talk too much. I'm trying to look at how we can tackle it and look at concrete solution. And one thing we need to do is personal development, empower ourselves. Self-esteem and love, and because that's what it comes down to. So, what you're saying, my sister, you're so much on point. I'm really glad that you're able to phone in, and so you know how to get down to Ilford, yeah?
Yeah, I'll get there hook or by crook. I mean, there's this, what's that thing called you get on the phone? Apps, map apps, or what they call the thing. I'll just put the address in and then make my way. And for those who don't know, on your phone, the same time you use your phone just to WhatsApp or this chain letter thing, and you're passing things on and passing things on, okay? It's the same way you could turn and use your phone with the apps that tells you about the maps, how you can take yourself from A to B and get there, whether it be on the train, whether it be in the car, whether it be bus, however. All roads should lead to this event. Obviously, no, we don't know, we can't see what's going to happen in the future, and sometimes we can be waylaid or something's happened, so it stops you from going. But all I'm just saying is, because we've got so many speakers under one roof, as you rightly said, you don't have to attend all, all what the speakers are saying, but it's just one day, one of the one days in your life that you're going to take time out to look at yourself, look at your own development, look at ways in which you yourself can move yourself forward. And if it's not even yourself, you take that information, you hear something, and that's one of the things for me. If I hear something and then I'll go and do the research, as we often say on radio, you hear something, I may not get it always right, but you yourself, when you hear it, You need to go and do the research. Don't expect that I'm going to do all the research for you. It's the same as when you go to school or college. The teacher gives you a certain amount of work. They say, I want your homework in. They're expecting that you would do the homework
Do the
in the
homework,
sense
yeah.
that you will do the research that is needed for you to produce that paper so that you can pass that mark. It's the same for all of us, regardless of what age we're at. You hear something, then you go and look it up, because to our fingertips is the phone. Same way how we send, as you say, with the knife crime and all these different things flying around, we can send out and around educational information that we can, each one teach one through the phone. So you have that bit where you go to explore or whatever it is that whatever apps you have in your phone, and you put in whatever it was and read about it and see where it gets you. No one's saying you it's rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's just taking the time.
Yeah.
You know, you sit and watch television. If you sit and watch television that only has you vegetating in front there, getting fat bottoms or fat stomachs, and sit down there and yam food, watch television, and that's it. What is the benefits of it?
Mm.
If it's something educational and uplifting, then get off your butt, get out there and go and listen. And then when you finish, Monday you can go back, sit on the couch and eat your food and watch television. But for at least you would have gained something. Because the thing is, you can have the man who can read a book or reads one book a month or every 3 months is a lot further than the man who doesn't read any book at all, because
That's right.
what is he putting in his system?
That's right. That's absolutely right. My sister, you're spot on. You're full on point here, and I'm really glad you're able to phone in and share and paint the picture in our mind, the value what's going to take place this weekend, because I'm saying that once you reach there, what I mean, life will never be the same again, because especially those who haven't been to a seminar and heard these individuals, there's there's amazing individuals, and all of them I know personally, what I mean know personally, I mean, Kinsu's my good friend. I speak to him practically every day. Anita now I speak to quite regular. Lyndon I speak to practically every day. Jenny, I haven't spoken to Jenny for a little while. I know Jenny still. Many years ago, in fact, she's one of who showed me. Let me show me. She's the first one who I heard spoke about fibroids. Right, one of the very first is to talk about fibroids. Tell the truth, tell the lie. I think it might have been Doreen, but when I remember hearing her, seeing her speak about fibroids, and in fact, people not aware. In fact, subject matter will be how to fight fibroids and how to live a fabulous life after 50. And in fact, she was how was it now? She was British champion fitness, whatever, 2 years in a row. In England, fitness champion. Vasco Stevenson, I know very well, and he'll be talking about how to improve our lives through healthy eating. Melvin Barrett, I speak to quite regular. Personal development and the art of self-discovery. Kins, as I said, we talk about mental health and moving from untruth to truth. And they're interested to see what Kins has to say on that, because he's done a lot of research, and one thing he looks at is the whole thing about trauma. Pauline Clark, we're looking at the importance of writing a will and setting up a trust. As I said, Linda will be talking about diabetes and talking about his journey of diabetes, because he had two diabetes. And also, I won't say the me and my still, but he'll be coming out of the bomb. He'll be jammers, we're talking about the whole thing about words, is that man, the etymology, of words. So he'll be breaking down words. Well, etymology, he'll be breaking down the whole thing about words and so forth, and looking from a historical perspective, So jammers will be fired up, you know. So it's gonna be amazing, amazing, amazing event. You know, yeah, definitely. Okay then, so my sister, give thanks for your contribution. Yeah.
It's
I'm
okay.
definitely
You're
gonna
welcome.
see you Sunday. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it'd be nice to get a feedback from you as well, because we definitely want, one thing we need to do, one thing I need to work on is get some feedback from these events here. So when people hear the feedback, they come and say, well, this is something I need to be going, you know, encourage people to go, you know, yeah. Because, you know, we should be having literally 100 people should be coming out to these seminars, you know, not just my seminars or, you know, but other people's seminars, you know, putting on these kind of events, yeah, let's be quite clear, these kind of events, you know, yeah, 100 of people should be coming out.
Well, they should be, but because they're not in that place, they might not even be in the right mindset.
Yeah,
They might not even
it's the right mindset.
ready.
Yeah, they got to be ready.
know.
I mean, I understand, you know, because, you know, we live in a very hectic, fast-paced life and blam, bam, 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 bam. But, I mean, when something like this come around, you know, just spend some time and come out. And I know that also gel with the people, them people, like-minded people and etc. See? Yeah. You know, definitely. Okay, my sister. So, again, I give thanks to you, yeah?
Okay, bless, Brother Dougie. Thank you anyway.
All right. Then. Take care. One love.
All right.
Okay. What a beautiful call from a very beautiful, beautiful sister.
The pestilence that lurks in dark places, nor destruction that wasteth at midday. The time hath just come.
When I look at where I'm coming from, I know I'm blessed, and I close my eyes and smile. Sometimes I feel like the richest man in Babylon, and I've done my best, so everything's alright inside. Oh, every morning, I rise, I stare at the sun. I know it is a blessing. So when the evening comes, I lift up my eyes to this, I'm blessed, oh man. With my two hands in the air as far as I can. Stare at the sun, I know it is a blessing. Yeah. Lift up my eyes to this, I'm blessed, oh man. Ooh. Sometimes I'm lost and far from home, but I'll find my way. I follow my heart, I know I'll be found someday. While I'm lost, I learn and live. What do you say? Let's have a good time until that day. Oh, every morning, I rise, I stare at the sun. I know it is a blessing. So when the evening comes, I lift up my eyes to this, I'm blessed, oh man. With my two hands in the air as far as I can. As far as I can. started scrutinized to the point where I had to ask who am I. Then I remember what they do to Christ. He was nailed to a cross and crucified. Now that the light came to me, I wonder if they're gonna do the same to me. And when the truth hits painfully, that's when you know if you're really who you claim to be. For so long we've been denied, rejected and brutalized. But our children shall win the war. Yes, 'cause we know who we are. Yes, we're Selassie children. Oh yeah, I Selassie children. I Selassie children. We are Ethiopians by blood. Africa was born in us. Selassie children. Selassie children. I Selassie children. We know who we are. Boy, young boy threw away his comb, so his papa told him find a different home. Never come back, hold your own, boy you a Rasta, I wish I never know you. No, rejected for the life he choose. Cast out, all alone. Oh no, the stone that the builder man refused. Shall be there. It cornerstone. Soon they will realize that we've been reading between the lines. Remember we foretold the war. Oh, you never forget who we are. Tell them we're Selassie children, Selassie children. Daniel in the lion's den. We are Ethiopians by blood. Africa was born in us. Selassie children. I Selassie children. Young girl got to face the worst, 'cause her mother just took a look in her purse. She find a clay cutchy and some holy herbs, and the wise mind a finally hide the first. Mama say, young girl, you're losing your mind. Did you get these things from Satan? And she said, no, mama, I got the cutchy from Janine and the wise mind from I Nation. Please, mama, don't scrutinize. Take this book and give it a try. Let this herb open up your eyes. Experience the wonders of Rastafari. I Selassie children. We are I Selassie children. We are Ethiopians by blood. Africa was born in us. Africa. I Selassie children. Oh, yeah. The battle will be hard. Selassie children. Still we never stop. Selassie children. They have a war. Selassie children. Still in nothing never fall. Selassie children. Oh, coral gardens. Selassie children. Love of miracles. That was Selassie children. Still we there now. Selassie children. Never giving up. Selassie children. Take no holiday. Selassie children. Fight the fights and win.
story told to the children of Africa.
We love the children of Africa. Teaching the children. Oh, da 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 da. La da da da. Oi, black eye, black hair, black skin, black queen, stand majestic with the black king. Today I'll sing you a black song. You need to hear about beautiful black things. Cause most time we hear about black, we hear about black magic and black witches. Blacklist, black book, black market, Black Friday, you spend off your black riches. I've never seen a doctor in black, nor seen a black pill to cure no black people. But I've seen bush doctors like Tash and Marley resurrect like a real black beetle. Malcolm, Marcus, Martin. When you see Walter Rodney, ask him. Oh, you not hear about how we laughing. So when the little offspring asking, tell them they never told us that black is beautiful. They never told us black is beauty. They never told us that black is beautiful. They never told us. They never told us that black is beautiful. Behave and I go on like you never spend 500 years on a farm. The same chain you are wearing and I go on is another black life in Sierra Leone. Boy, they find out Mama Earth got gold then. They mind out Mama Earth black soul then. You work hard just forget a black card. Same card where you swipe by back your black gold then. Hold on, I see enough faces long, but this is not a racist song. This is a song for the children who was never told about where the race is from. They never hear it in them favorite songs. Everybody calm and say slavery's done. What I go on when the babies come? I start read about things like Dogans, Black Kemet and Kush, Black Kings, Black Senate and books. We teach about pyramids and put real significance to we physical looks. So every word when we sing black, in my world everything black. Black, white, black, right back. So don't be surprised if me say me king black. Cause they never told us that black is beautiful. They never told us black is beauty. They never told us that black is beautiful. They never told us. They never told us that black is beautiful. No. Preacher is preaching, good God, things that he preaches. I wonder who taught him to preach. Teacher is teaching, where did he get his degree? Now it is no mystery. Who taught us black history? He's up. Something about you, girl, and I don't think it's just your smile. I don't know how to say it now. I've been thinking for a while. The best way to say it, woman, your energy is right, yes. Before I hold you in my arms, hold you close in my arms. I wanna hold you in my heart, hold you close in my arms. Before we share our love upon that bed, share enough. I wanna place this crown upon your head, woman. Girl, you're my queen, majesty. You are my queen, majesty. Don't you know you are my queen, majesty? Oh, you are my queen, majesty. Queen of the jungle, you are the lioness. I feel like I grumble but you're always trying your best. So when the whole world a crumble, your lion is alright. Before I hold you close, just before I hold you close. Oh girl, I wanna let you know, woman, let you know that when all is done and all is said, all is done, all is said, you deserve that crown upon your head, woman. I said, Queen Majesty, don't you know you are my queen, baby? Majesty, yes you know you are, Majesty, you are my queen, baby. Majesty, you know. So hear me now. Well, me say Cleopatra, Queen of Sheba, Nefertiti, are you are your feature? Empress man in a beautiful creature. You summarize every queen of the east seas out. Every night crawler and gully creeper. I'm in a no born no Mona Lisa. And but me know Venus and Serena. Undisputed Queen Amiga. To the Ribby Bank, come the Ribby Bank skin girl. All good you know, no problem girl. Kill a body of physique, shot them. Bow. Straight greens, no visit Agpen. And the Majesty, I eat a mad them. All bout and me get up and I sing your anthem, girl. Cross my heart, and my breath from when I want Queen Star, all my love song them non-stop. I want Queen Star, all my love song them from top. And I want Queen Star, all my love song them ease out.
First, I want to give thanks, and again, we're in Tony's barbershop.
Well, earlier this month, the Caribbean nations approved a plan to seek reparations from the former slaving nations, including Britain, for the victims of slavery, slave trading, genocide, and racial apartheid. And as a first step, they've engaged the British firm of solicitors who won £20 million compensation for the Kenyan victims of torture by the British during the Mau Mau rebellion in the 1950s. Should we pay reparations for slavery, for the evil of slavery? Esther. Morning, Esther. Well, let me ask you first, because what's really fascinating about this, and what a lot of people have not really focused on, are the ongoing effects I mean, there is something that you've spoken about before, intergenerational transmission of trauma. Tell me about that.
Yes, well, basically, slavery and genocide has impacted not only the historical populations that were kidnapped from Africa, but also those of us who are the descendants of the enslaved today. And it's not only about trauma and multi-generational oppression, the whole discussion around wealth. There has been unjust enrichment to Britain, and there's also been unjust impoverishment, which has been passed on throughout the generations. So part of the legacy is this huge inequality that we see today between the descendants of the enslavers and the descendants of the enslaved.
And what about and psychological scars which have had societal effects, ongoing economic effects, to which you've already said? What are the psychological scars?
Well, part of that...
Intergenerational.
Intergenerationally, it's not knowing who we are. It's a lack of connection, it's a lack of identity, a lack of nationhood, which is what makes us human beings, essentially. It's not being rooted, it's being considered minority populations when we come from global majorities. And it's about having second-class status and citizenship wherever we have been located as a result of this dispersal and depopulation that happened originally in Africa.
And there is a phenomenon as well that you believe really does exist, which is post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Yes, well, it's something that I've not coined, but many of our social theorists and psychologists and psychiatrists have been looking at some of the negative legacies that we have internalized, the internalization of racism, self-hate, anti-African sentiments and prejudice and discrimination, a loathing of ourselves, vacancy.
Self-loathing.
Self-loathing. Self-loathing in terms of not being proud of who we are, not being proud of our heritage, not being proud of our African ancestry, changing our looks to kind of emulate Caucasian beauty ideals. These are some of the real legacies today in terms of the psychology. We also have to look at the rates of mental health illness, and this has also been linked to that.
All roots back to slavery.
All roots back to that.
Can I ask you as well, Fern, as you're there, I mean, you don't know each other, but it's wonderful you're both on the programme today, how it has affected, I mean, how has it affected you, Fern, slavery, you now, a woman in 2014?
Well, it's very important what Esther's been saying about post-traumatic slave syndrome and the trauma that that's caused down the ages. And it has affected me because I've needed people to help me to get to where I am today. And I think if they hadn't done that, I wouldn't be talking to you today.
So you've been lucky in that?
I've been very lucky in that I've been helped to be where I am today by people who are aware of the problems that Esther has raised.
And as a successful academic, that's something you've had to battle against what happened back then.
I've had to battle against racism in particular.
But as a result of slavery.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Daniel Hannan, one of the things, of course, which is most egregious about this, many argue, is the fact that the slavers at the time of abolition, in 1838, I think, were paid enormous amounts of money, huge amount paid to the slave owners, equivalent of at least £16.5 billion today. So why shouldn't the people who are still suffering have reparations?
Because I'm descended from slaves, and you are descended from slaves, and everybody here is, and everybody watching at home is. Slavery was universal. We're all also, by the way, descended from slave owners. Human history being what it is, it could hardly be otherwise. Slavery was practiced in China, in India, in Arabia, in Africa, by the Aztecs, by the Mayans, by the Incas, by the Pacific Islanders. Muslims enslaved Christians, Christians enslaved Muslims. And therefore, if you're looking at paying reparations, anyone whom you choose to pay is statistically certain to be descended both from the owners and the owned. There were 3,000 black slave owners in the US on the eve of the Civil War. We are, if you like, all in this. Now to look at a population...
Okay, then now the party gonna start now because we do have a complete scholar inside the house. You know what I mean? So any confusion, he'll clarify that. And you see the things that when you have a man who know them stuff, right? And you know, it's happens that we talk about the real McCoy because when the real McCoy come up here, you know, the imposter have to sit down. There's many people said that that them are Elvis Presley and this and that, right? But when the real Elvis when they come, they never sit down. No, we have our scholar, right? You know, wherever I go, if I'm talking about, well, he's a scholar. You know what I mean? So we had some, we played something about reparation and the, we was hearing it a bit, you know. So we are going some to reasoning still, right? I think use this man properly because, again, he's a man who have high level of I don't want to talk about intelligence because he's very intelligent, but not only that, but the man studied, he does his research, and that's the reason why he's in a position where he can talk and give some kind of clarity, because sometimes, you know, man can talk and we can talk, but this man give us some clarity on certain things. So the brother is Omowale, we have inside the house, and he was here a couple weeks ago, give us some clarity on certain things about reparation, the whole thing about slavery, because remember, Omowale made it quite clear, yes, slavery is wrong, you know, because you have some black people who did slave black people, but what them done, they did take them and prison them, and in fact they look after them, you know what I mean? Make sure them eat and look after them and things, because they must go on certain things, you know what I mean? But so we have to be clear, you know, when the brother talk about slavery, and he put that in perspective last time he was here. See? And also we have Tamera, who is, I know, official, be quite clear, spoken word artist. So here I go now. This man officially with us now, you know what I mean? I don't fool of anything else. The man is official spoken word artist. And also the man is a high level intelligent, intellectual, and he'll be reasoning with us, you know what I mean? So the thing said, see? And thing. So Omowale, I want to go straight in the chase because there's three things I want to raise up, right? But obviously, the thing with slavery, I want to clarify that. And also, well, on the recording, talk about psychological scars, right? And I think that's very important that we understand that slavery had an impact on us psychologically, you know what I mean? In terms of how we behave today, is what I'm saying, you know? And thing, you know? And to some extent, right, if you like or not, it's caused us, even now, some mental health, you know, because of what we've been through and what we've experienced and so on and so. And, you know, as you know, human people, they have counseling and therapy and this and that, right? What to me is important. We haven't really had that, you know, we have to just cope with it, have to hold it down and so forth, you know. So, I just thought I had to bring it out, you know what I mean? Yeah? You know, bring it out and so forth and thing, you know. But I know that you want to make a comment on the on what's been said there, right? Tamera, feel free for jump, you know what I mean? Yes. Jump in and thing. So, you know, what's been said and what been said as well. I mean, I wonder if you just come in. Oh, sorry, my brother. Yeah, yeah, sorry.
Okay. Maybe I should adjust the chair or something. Is that? It doesn't look like it wants to hold upwards. I don't know if that thing there. Yeah, that's
Okay.
better. I think that's better.
Yeah.
I think that's better. Well, first of all, let me say warmest greetings to you, Dougie, my brother. It's always a pleasure to be in your company. That's the first thing. And Brother Tamera, it's a pleasure to be in your company again. It really is a pleasure. You know?
Pleasure to be in yours too, brother. Bless you, brother.
Oh boy, and again, just to acknowledge management of the radio station, you know, because, you know, to make these things happen, to run a station is not an easy thing.
Yeah.
You understand? So there are people in the background working hard to make sure that this service is there for our people, and we always have to big them up. Yeah, we can't take certain things for granted. We always have to big up the management for the work that they're doing in the background. So enough respect to the management of Bless FM. Yeah. Just a quick comment, really, on what I presume is a European man was saying about slavery. Everybody slave everybody, etc., etc. Now, for once, we found one that's correct. It's not all the time you find one that's correct, you understand? But he's actually correct. Everybody has been on the enslaving side and on the enslaved side when you look at our lineage all the way through history. Yeah? So factually, he's correct. His problem is with the interpretation. Yeah? You see, Britain is built on slavery.
That's right, yeah.
We're not talking one slave here, one slave there. That's not what we're talking about, you understand? We're not talking about somebody do a wrong to another person, put them into some kind of slavery there, and you know, one here, one there. We're talking about a group of people who left here, Britain. They went over, it wasn't US Satan yet, it was America, them time there, you understand? They went over there in the whole of the Americas, it wasn't US Satan yet, yeah? And when they arrived, there were 100 million American Indians there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah? They managed to cut them down to, I don't even know if you can find 1 million now.
Yeah.
I mean, that is serious.
Yeah.
That is serious. Yeah? There's no other people in the world that's created slavery of that kind.
Yeah.
And then when they kill off the American Indians now, the first thing that they did, first of all, they started to do the press gang that they do in the street to put people in the Navy.
Yeah.
They started to beat up their own people, fling them on the ship, and take them over. Take them over to the Caribbean. Yeah. So they started to enslave their own people in the Caribbean. And then their people them start dead off as well. So they done kill off the American Indians. They kill off their own people them that couldn't take the pressure. And they say, where can we find the people that can deal with this? You know, our savagery. Where can we find the people that can deal with European savagery and still live? Yeah. And there's only one place to look. Yeah. So they went to Africa. Yeah. And they committed a genocide against our people. Now, we've got to understand, that if you look in Walter Rodney's book, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, in there he puts a table, and the table explains that, and I think it's probably about 1781, I can't remember the exact dates off the top of my head, but they did population census, even back then, and the population of Europe back then was 100 million people.
100 million people.
100 million people in Europe at the time. Remember, there was 100 million in the Americas at the time, but they kill them off, you understand? But they had 100 million in Europe.
Just to put a pin there, just slightly. Because 100 million people, now in America, right? I don't think there's 1 million Indians there now.
Well, they don't wipe them off,
Wipe them off. So wipe them all out, Russ.
You see, the ones that are still there, if you look at them and you look at them in the face, they look like they're Europeans. Because there's been so much, so much raping going on, that they're just trying to cling on to their Indianness, if I can put it that way. You understand, and you look at them in the face and they have to tell you that they're American Indians sometimes for you to actually know. You understand? Because they look so much like Europeans now after all the raping that they've been through. Yeah? But just coming back to the table. So what we had is, in Europe, you had 100 million people. Yeah? In Africa, you had 100 million people. So Europe and Africa had the same size of population. Yeah? Then they fast forward 100 years. In the table, he shows the next 100 years what happened. Yeah? And they measured the population of Europe 100 years later. I think it was 1751 and 1851. Yeah? And the population of Europe was now 400 million people. 400 million people. So it had quadrupled in 100 years. Yeah? The population of Africa was 100 million people. Yeah? So 300 million African people went missing. Now, you got to understand more than that, really, but let's just say 300 million, because remember, we reproduce better than them. Yeah? We have enough big family. Them have them little 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, whatever they call it. You understand? So they can't make family like we can make family. You understand? We have our nice big family, them, enough children, everything, etc., etc. So what was supposed to happen is Europe was supposed to be 400 million and Africa was probably supposed to be 600 or 800 million. So the question then, let's just hold it at, say we reproduce at the same rate as them, yeah? The question then is, what happened to those 300 million African people? Where'd they go? That is a serious issue. So they done wipe out the American Indian, yeah? They done kill off 300 million African people, or remove 300 million, the equivalent of 300 million African people from our soil, and they don't kill off their own people, them that couldn't survive when they tried to put them in slavery. That's a different type of slavery. All slavery is not the same. Yeah? Now, the other side to understand is out of slavery, yeah, out of the enslavement of African people, the Europeans built up massive wealth. We can't even measure the amount of wealth that they built up. Massive, you know when people are rich today, just don't know what to do with it. Yeah, just masses and masses and masses and masses of wealth. Yeah, so that when you go to Liverpool now, virtually every brick in Liverpool is our blood put it there. When you go to Bristol, virtually every brick in Bristol, it's our blood that put it there. When you go down to all the docks, the Docklands area here in London, it's our blood that put it there. Virtually everything. You understand? But if it was just that, that would be bad enough. But you've got to understand, when they had all this surplus capital. That's the way the economists like to like to call it. Yeah, it means that they were stinking rich. That's what it means. Yeah. And then what they then did is they started to pay people, scientists and inventors, etc., to invent things. So you notice that in slavery, when you're in school, they tell you about the spinning jenny. Do you remember they tell you when we were in primary school, they talk about the spinning jenny that they used to make wool. Oh, right. And they use it to make wool, and then they use the wool to make clothes because this country's a cold country. USA, and they use the cotton. It's a hot country there, so you understand. So they use the cotton. It's us that's having to do all these things, but these things were invented on the back of the enslavement of African people. Yeah. Now, when you're in school, the way that they teach it to you is they say that the Industrial Revolution came into effect. Yeah. Now, as the American Indians say, you can't doubt them. They must be right, because 100 million of them disappear from the face of the earth. They must be right. Yeah. They say white man speak with forked tongue. You understand? You can't really doubt them. You understand? You just can't doubt them. Yeah. Now, all of those inventions led to what they call the Industrial Revolution, what truthfully is the birth of capitalism. Yeah. The birth of the factory. The birth of mass production. Now, you must understand that mass production raises the standard of living for the people for whom the things are being mass produced. So all of a sudden now, what then happens is with the birth of capitalism, all their poor people that were in the countryside, yeah, they have to start build a house for them. They put a factory, and then they put houses around the factory, etc. And then those poor people who were peasants before, yeah, remember the peasant is like they're just tied to the land, yeah. So the minute they became working class, they get freedom now. You understand? They're no longer tied to the land. They can go and get wages in a factory now. You understand? So their class position went up. So it's an improvement in their class position for the working class people. It's not just the rich them. The working class people saw an improvement in their position. Yeah. In order for them to experience that improvement, we who were peasants in Africa had went down a class into slavery. Yeah. So we lost out for them to go up. Even the poor ones of them. Yeah. To go up. Yeah. And then they get the benefits of all of the the mass production. Them have motor car. What do we know about motor car in Africa? You understand? It's not to do with them being intelligent or anything like that, and we don't know what to do, you know. It's that they have mass production. Yeah? Them start make TV. Yeah? All these kind of things. It's not that we got our scientists too, but everything teeth out of Africa. So where are we going to make TV? Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So they start to get all the pretty little things. You know, nowadays it's the computer and all these. They get all the pretty things, and we just get the slaps at the other end of it. So what we're talking about is their society is built on the enslavement of African people. This is unique in history. Yeah. For the whole society to be built. Yeah. And for them to catapult. As a result of our blood. Let me give you an example just to concretize, what industrialization actually means. Human beings, we have labor. I'm just simplifying kind of economic theory here, but human beings, we have labor. We can do things, we can make things, etc., etc. We have labor, But that labor is improved when we have tools. And the better the tools, the more the labor can produce. So what you know? Yeah? Okay, if I go for a walk, and I walk for the day, in a day, I might walk, say, 20 miles. Yeah? You know, that's a reasonable amount to walk in a day. Yeah? Now, you give me a tool, call it a bicycle. Yeah? I say, ride that bike. If I ride that bike for a day, then all of a sudden, the same person, the same person go, what, 60 miles? Probably more, but let's just say 60. Yeah? Then, okay, so that's not good enough, So then I decide I want a better tool. So you give me a car, So what could I do in a day? Maybe 600 miles. It's the same person, It's the same person, 600 miles in one day, Then I said, that's not even good enough still. You understand? Give me an airplane now. Now, if you fly for a day in an airplane, probably you go around the world in one. That's what, 24,000 miles. In one day of travel on same person. But with the tools now going much further. Now, if that's not good enough, I might say I want spaceship now. You understand? That time, gone to the moon, come back. But do you see what I'm saying? So the tools make people more productive. So they're thinking, you were talking about the psychological, but I'm showing the physical base to get to the psychological, You see, so Europeans pretend that they're more intelligent than Africans. It couldn't be further from the truth, What they have are better tools, They have the spaceships. Where in Africa do we have spaceship? You understand? They've got airplane. We just got the airplane they sell us second hand. They make the cars in their place, even though the Japanese and all the rest of them, the East of them take over, you understand? But we only just about beginning to get little car factory now. We're far behind. It's nothing to do with intelligence. It's just to do with we haven't got the right tools. So if you get the baddest bad man in the world, let's take Anthony Joshua. I know that things happened that weren't supposed to happen the other day. But let's just take Anthony Joshua, calling the baddest man in the world for argument's sake. I still love the brother. You understand? And you put him in a boxing ring. And then you get some old European woman, and you put her in the same boxing ring, but you give her, what is it, Kalashnikov, AK-47, etc. And then you ring the bell. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? It's the tools that make the difference. You understand? So they are wiping the floor with us because them have the tools. That's the reason why they're wiping the floor with us. It's not to do with intelligence. It's just that they have the tools. And so what they do is they deliberately make sure that Africa does not industrialize. Because if Africa industrializes, it's all over. Yeah. Yeah? When African people have the tools, everything undermines us from that point. You understand? And we already get a hint. You see the Chinese, them get the tools? You see how they're slapping them down already? The Chinese already slapping them down. They just get the tools yesterday, you know? Yeah, and already they're slapping them down. What are African people going to do to them? Yeah? So we must understand. Let me come back to what it is now. We must understand, therefore, that when we're talking about the slavery that Europeans introduced into Africa, that they brought with them, the kind of wretched wickedness that they created. It wasn't just the wickedness, it's the actual way that they used it to produce at a higher level. So that what happens is we're in a race, they got a motor car, we got one leg. You understand? We used to have 2 foot, they chop off one. You understand? And they say, come race us now. That time they got the Ferrari or whatever it is, motor car. How come there's no way we could win? We don't chop off one foot, probably chop off some toes off the other one too. How are we going to win that? Yeah? It's nothing to do with them being better than us. It's nothing to do with them being more intelligent than us. It's everything to do with them having the tools and then using the tools to prevent us from having the tools. You know, the way that they use the tools to prevent us from having the tools, they call it gun. They just make up some gun, you understand? And they produce the biggest gun, you understand? The biggest gun, right up to nuclear weapon. You understand? They produce it. You understand? So I just make this point to put this man's comment in its place. He is correct. He's factually correct. Every people on earth have been enslavers and enslaved. Every people on earth, without exception. He's absolutely correct. But the caliber of slavery, the caliber of the slavery is different. Their one is just different. You know, I mean, and it's not even accident. They don't wipe off the American Indians, But it's not. We can't even give them the benefit of that. You know, sometimes you can say, well, maybe it's an accident. They make a mistake. But they went to Australia. They wipe out the Aborigines as well. You understand? I mean, on one occasion, we can give them a blight. You understand? We can say it's a mistake. You understand? They did it twice. You know? That's a serious thing, and then they want to come and tell us that everybody was enslaved like they're talking about the same thing. You're not talking about the same thing. We're talking about completely different caliber of activity. Under the same label, but the content is completely different.
Okay, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to play some more. Tamera, you want to do a poem, or you want to make a comment? Feel free. You know? You want to do a poem now?
Yes.
Yeah, come in, man, because we're going some rhythm, man. Can't leave it.
Yes, my name is Tamera Gabriel, and I'm really privileged and pleasure to be here. Thank you, Brother Dougie. Thank you, Brother Omowale, for your wisdom and your passion and intelligence and your love. I see you're a very loving man. You make a good daddy for a lot of children out there. Yes. Yes, well, here's a poem, and this poem here is called Babel. And Babel is referring to the Tower of Babel, which is a tower of confusion, which is what we're living in today, which is what Brother Omowale is talking about. That wickedness is the Tower of Confusion. You know, and all these spaceships and all these aircrafts, all these gadgets that they computers and so on, they're all, you know, it's all a tower of confusion, you know, because it's not used to further our lives to a better state, but it's one which they use to actually oppress and even deny themselves peace of mind, because, you know, when you're a wicked man, you're only using your tools in a wicked fashion, you can never have any peace, you know. Anyway, this is one is the Babel. Babel, you're a tower of confusion. Babel, in pursuit of illusions. Building your cities so high, building machines that reach for the sky. Building your cities so high, and building machines that reach for the sky. Babel, you're a tower of confusion. Babel, in pursuit of illusions. You make your schools just to make us your fools, and you control the media just like a mirror to make us see what you want us to see, whilst you're causing man to be his enemy. Babel, you're a tower of confusion. Babel, in pursuit of illusions. Sending your children to wars, not knowing what they are really fighting for. Sending your children to wars and not knowing what they are really fighting for. Babel, you're a tower of confusion. Babel, in pursuit of illusions. Thank you.
Talking to you today.
So you've been lucky in that.
I've been very lucky in that I've been helped to be where I am today by people who are aware of the problems that Esther has raised.
And as a successful academic, that's something you've had to battle against what happened back then.
I've had to battle against racism in particular.
But as a result of slavery.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Daniel Hannan, one of the things, of course, which is most egregious about this, many argue, is the fact that the slavers at the time of abolition, in 1838, I think, were paid enormous amounts of money, huge amount paid to the slave owners, equivalent of at least £16.5 billion today. So why shouldn't the people who are still suffering have reparations?
Because I'm descended from slaves, and you are descended from slaves, and everybody here is, and everybody watching at home is. Slavery was universal. We're all also, by the way, descended from slave owners. Human history being what it is, it could hardly be otherwise. Slavery was practiced in China, in India, in Arabia, in Africa, by the Aztecs, by the Mayans, by the Incas, by the Pacific Islanders. Muslims enslaved Christians, Christians enslaved Muslims. And therefore, if you're looking at paying reparations, anyone whom you choose to pay is statistically certain to be descended both from the owners and the owned. There were 3,000 black slave owners in the US on the eve of the Civil War. We are, if you like, all in this together. And it's therefore very difficult now to look at a population. I'm not talking about continuing slavery, which is a huge issue and where we could be doing a great deal. But if you're looking at past slavery, it's just a question of how far back you want to go, and we're all slaves.
No, we're not all descendants of, enslaved peoples and enslavers. I think that is really, falsifying history, and it actually is minimising the seriousness of what we're actually talking about. Chattel enslavement, as happened to African peoples and people of African descent, is something different and unparalleled in human history. And that's the starting point for this conversation. It's very cheap to then say, well, we've all been enslaved, because right now I don't have the same life chances and life experiences of many people who might even be sitting in this audience. I feel we need to understand this history. I'm not saying that we haven't all been impacted, but just to say, well, we've all been impacted the same is really not the starting point.
Yeah, and Bernadette, I'm sure if anyone wants to make a point...
I'm going to play devil's advocate here, so get the tomatoes out and start throwing it now. Look,
has it affected you? Okay,
no, and this is it. I think we really have to be careful here. Has all that got to do with slavery, being in a mental institution? I am a champion, a volunteer. I'm a motivational speaker that visits prisons twice a week. Now, some of the lads in there, their crimes are not for because I was a slave 150 years ago. I think at some point, yes, of course we all know slavery was there. My God, bad things happen. Bad things happened to me once, but it's what I do. You don't walk around with it. You have to move on. We've got to rise above it now and start moving on and thinking, okay, what are we going to do in the next 150 years so that our children can see, this happened to my great-great-grandfather, but wow, look what they've done now. we've got to start rising above this and get away from you owe me this, you owe me that, and going back. Look, of course, every black person knows it's really difficult in certain areas.
What about the people that have profited from it? You know, the families that are still enriched
Again,
because of
we
this.
know this.
The tobacco
what
millionaires, the
So I
sugar
live in
millionaires.
Dorset. What am I going to do? Knock on all the manor houses in Dorset and say, right, give me a room for the night, mate. You know, hello, where does it end? You know, yes, they know they are. Some of them are named and shamed, Nikki. They're all in Google. You can see who they are. They have been named and shamed. Almost an apology was made by Tony Blair. Yes, an apology. But the trouble is, no British government is going to apologise because that would open the floodgates.
Fern, come on, audience, put your hands up, Fern.
Almost an apology. Apology was not made by Tony Blair. He said
He expressed regret, yeah.
Well, that's not an apology.
But there's a reason why. We know. I'm a realistic person. Let's be honest. It'll be another 150 years before they actually apologise and hand out cheques. And how are they going to do it?
Well, we're not asking for cheques to be handed out. It's not about money. That cheapens the debate.
Yes, I
it's
know.
It's not about money.
But if they apologise, you do realise the implications of if you apologise.
The legal implications.
Yeah, for legal implications. Then the compensation, when my great-great-great-great-father, he was... How are we going to do it, you see? How are we going to do it?
That's not what CARICOM are asking for. CARICOM are asking for the first time ever, that the Western nations that were involved, such as the UK, France, Portugal and so on, sit around the table with 15 heads of government and talk about the issues that plague us now.
And then what?
And what the issues that plague us now, what has that got to do with slavery? Because, I mean, my dad was 85, God bless him, when he died last year. That never stopped him. He's a millionaire. He worked hard, 7 days a week.
This is why we need education. It's very important. One of the things that CARICOM talk about is education.
But what has that got to do with slavery 150 years ago? Education, my dad educated me. The 5 girls, we got educated. Not one of us would have gone wrong. I think all 5 of us has done well.
The point
I don't understand.
The point to recognise here is that we're not talking about something that happened 150 years ago. We're talking about the current impact of slavery, colonialism and neo-colonialism, which brings us right here into the here and now. That's
Right.
what we're talking about.
In the order, okay. I know you want to come back on that. Hands up in the audience, please. Let's get some quick points. Yes, you've had your hand up for quite some time. Good morning.
Sorry, in
You're
terms of discussing whether African Caribbean countries should get reparation, it's saying that we've all been enslaved before, then why can't you, one question to that is why can't you correct it and show that it's not right by doing that? Also, the money that does go back can go into development schemes, and it is absolutely insane to assume that slavery hasn't got an impact. It's also like saying, oh, I've made it, so why can't you? You could look at victims of domestic violence and say, okay, you've made it in life, why haven't you? The trauma on those children and those children, people could...
Do you believe in the intergenerational transmission of trauma? Do you think
I do,
what happened to your
completely.
forefathers? Yeah.
100%. And also because it's... If you're in an environment where there was self-hate, the problem is you brainwashed Caribbeans, Africans, etc., and told them, you're slaves, you're slaves, you're slaves. You didn't unbrainwash them. You didn't take it out of them. It has to be us building ourselves in order to remove that mindset. And society...
Yeah, I just want to... what comes to my mind straight away, when the woman was talking about we need to get over it. Yeah? That's interesting. And also, she know thing about education. See, because obviously the woman who's making some comments there, and you can please correct me if I misread my information. She's not really seem to be very informed what's going down. We're talking about the woman there who was on a different kind of path. You know what I mean? And it's come across like, I'm successful. In fact, I think they said there's a millionaire sign there, why can't we be like that? Basically, just be yourself, and she kind of cheapens, and I think they probably use her just to open up some debate there and so forth, so, So I wasn't really impressed with her contribution, right? But then again, so, but I'm glad that we could place and have a proper reasoning, you know what I mean? Because again, I know you've done so much research, and it's good to have you as a scholar just to open this up and put things straight. You see what I'm saying? Tamera, do you want anything you want to bring to the table before Omowale comes in?
No, let Omowale.
Omowale, the scholar. Omowale, I just want to just so the guess what needs to be straightened up.
I mean, I'm not even going to say much here, really, because what we have is what I believe is a sister. Sounds as though it's probably an African sister, who is basically trying to make the argument that history doesn't matter.
Yes.
That's essentially what she's trying to say. Get over it. Yeah. So let's park the history down. I could go into history and I can give examples. So let's park the history. To help this sister see a bit more clearly. And let's just use analogy here. Now, my brother, I would never do such a thing. But imagine that I was a wicked imperialist, wicked European imperialist. And I say, you know, Dougie, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break your leg. That's what I'm going to do, because I'm just mad that way. And then I launch an attack on my own brother, but and break my brother's leg. The leg's dangling now. I don't let you go near hospital. You're not allowed to go near hospital. Anytime it looked like it might heal again, I just drop a lick on it. So the leg, whatever you do, the leg can't heal. And then after I finish doing what I'm doing, I say, look, get over it. Just walk. Just get over it. Why can't you just walk? Everybody else can walk. Why can't you just walk? I mean, the analogy is speaking to the, I'll call it absent-mindedness. I don't want to lick the sister hard. You understand? But she's absent-minded in her argument. It is as though no real injury has happened. Now, if a real injury has happened, if I broke your leg, accidentally, say, and I said, my brother, I'm really sorry. I do everything that I can, get the best doctors in, to come look after your leg, and straighten it out, do the best we can. Sometimes it come back exactly as it was. Probably it wouldn't come back exactly as it was, but maybe after 6 months, after a year, you could start to walk again. Maybe not good like before, but you could start walk again. At that point, I've got a right to begin to say to you now. In fact, I don't even have the right, but I could, if I'm not humble enough, I could say to you, look, it's time for you to get over it now. I mean, the leg fix. I did my best. It's not perfect, but I did my best. So come on, it's time for you to get over it. Because I did little something as best I could. I know I was wrong in the first place, but I did little something as best I could. So come on, get over it. But the history is that every time you try to fix your leg, I'm licking it again. How on earth can you get over that? And the question was already answered in relation to the other question. Because whilst they're building up spaceship, airplanes, spaceship and all these kind of things with our block foot, with our block foot in Africa, you understand? And they're saying get over it. And the equivalent of me coming back and breaking your leg again is just going to Africa, teeth out some gold. Going to Africa, teeth out some diamond. Going to Africa, teeth out some uranium for nuclear weapons that they can lick us with nuclear weapons on top. I mean, the sister is, her reasoning, I'll just call it poor. I won't lick her harder than that. I'll just say that her reasoning is poor. Now, I'll stop there. I don't want to go on too hard on the sister.
Yes, well, I'd like to say that, well, it seems obvious to me that after so many hundreds of years of, this thing has become genetic. It's just a physical thing, not even a mental thing again. It's actually in the genes now that, that we've inherited the slave mentality and the sense of what you call a lack of self-esteem and lack of self-worth and all that, because you're always taught, well, you can only be nothing more than a road sweeper or a laborer or but don't think any further than that, because it's impossible. I mean, actually it reminds me, even in this modern day and age, not so many years ago, I was told that it was impossible for me to present a program at the BBC. When I was asked, you know, which part of the company I'd like to work in. I said, well, I wouldn't mind having a program in Radio 4. And I was told it's impossible. And I asked why. And they just responded by saying, that's the way it is. That's just the way it is, which had connotations of, racism to me. I thought, well, it's because I'm black, you know what I mean? Why is it impossible? Would you have said the same thing did I have if I had white skin? You know, that's the same thing that just came to me instantly. So we find that, as you were saying, Brother Omowale, you know, they still, you know, the oppression and affliction of black people, Afro-Caribbeans and Afro-Americans continues to this day. And I guess people say, well, it's a miracle how you got there. People wonder, how does a black man, you know, get to present a program? Or how does he, you know, get to any position or even become a millionaire for that matter? Because I know for a fact that as a young man, I've spoken to policemen in the past who told me, well, why don't you just go home? Go home, and also, you know, once you buy a car or anything, they'll be down on you and want to take the car away from you and want to harass you all the time just because you drive a nice car. Like they have a million of them on the road, but it's only the black man who's driving his nice car. And you could be working in a good job and all the rest of it, and you're still getting hassled. Maybe stop 5 times a day, you know, and I mean, when I used to get stopped, I said, well, you know, what do you want me to do? Walk? And they said, yeah, you know, you walk. Better still go back home, you know, and which leads us to the reparation stuff, because once you're over here and they're telling you to go home, you know, well, gives us some money, you know, let's go home. I mean, it costs money. I need a house there. I need some land. I need to start a little business there if you really want me to leave. So I can see, you know, reparations would be very good for that sort of thing. You know, people want to go home. Give them a few £1 million each so they can go home. You know, because that's nothing really. I mean, they owe us trillions each. But however, more than trillions each according to the calculations I've heard in the past. But give us something and let's go. You know, the truth is they don't want to let us go because they still want to ride on our backs and get even higher and higher and higher. When something is so good, what do you want to let it go for? So therefore, we're now living in the matrix, you know, where people just getting preoccupied with all sorts of rubbish on the internet and so on and so forth, and they're just rooted to this place. They don't want to go to Africa or anything like that because you know, it's too backward. You know, they haven't got the tools like what, you know, got over here. And so, but, you know, one thing I must say about that lady who spoke about her granddad's a millionaire and, you know, you can all do the same thing. I must say one thing she did say was about living in the present moment. Because the fact is, I do find that some of us get a bit really highly emotional about the slavery in the sense that our sense of judgment, our mind becomes clouded. You know, our judgment is clouded when we get angry about it. You know, I mean, I can see the reason to be angry, but when we're angry, we cannot solve anything like that. You know, any decisions that are made out of anger is the wrong decision, brother. Absolutely. Life has taught me that, you know, regardless how justified it is. And she was talking about living in the present moment, and we do need to live in the present moment, no matter how much we go into our history and so on and get emotional about it. But we have to live in the present moment. And unfortunately, many of us are still living in the past, you know, going over and over and over the same thing. And we become imprisoned by the past, which casts a shadow and limits our mental capacity, you know, and as well as our physical capacities as well, actually, and spiritual capacity, as a matter of fact. And that's a big thing that we've left out of there. It's our spiritual capacity, which really and truly, my understanding is that black people are the most spiritual people on the planet. And my understanding is that we had a covenant with our Creator, and we broke that covenant, and because we chased after false gods and followed all these people who we shouldn't have followed, and joined their ways, and therefore, instead of being the head of society, had we kept in alignment with our covenant with the Most High, we'd be the heads of society everywhere. However, we were told, if you break that covenant, then you will be at the bottom of society everywhere. You shall be carried off in ships. You shall have iron necklaces around your necks and stuff like that. It's all written, these things was already prophesied, and there's no other race on earth it's happened to but us. So spiritually, we need to get spiritually connected before we can really, ascend and transcend, this pitiful state that we're in, where we constantly going around in this vicious circle of this, what you call revolving door, going round and round. And they said reparations might take another 150 years. In 150 years, we can achieve a lot, without getting a pound of reparation, once we're healed, spiritually, which in turn we heal mentally as well, and in turn we're healed economically and united as a family, and we can get on and get things manifest and fulfilled beyond our wildest dreams.
Okay then. All right then. What I'm gonna do, I'm going to touch on reparation. Well, I'm gonna ask Omowale just to give his perspective on reparation. But Amama, do correct me if I've misrepresented information here. But I understand reparation is about repairing the mind. If I'm right in saying so, it's about really repairing the mind first. I got that from listen to from the same sister there. To Esther, what's her name? Esther?
Yeah, I mean, I would come from a different vantage.
Well,
a different vantage.
Really come and just give us some clarity upon that, right? But feel free. Bit comments what Tamera said. If anything you want to come with, but if you want to talk about the whole thing about reparation, your perspective on that, Dan, and stuff. Well, I'm gonna play a bit more of the recording. Right?
Let me come and just say a little something very quickly. I mean, a very important point that's been raised about history.
Yes.
And the idea of living in the moment. Yeah. I think we need to be clear that we can't live anywhere else but in the moment. That's where we are in time, in the moment. Yeah. It's not possible to live in the past. This is a figment of Europeans' imaginations, living in the past. How can you live in the past? You're here now. So living in the past is an impossibility. And when people concentrate on history, they're not living in the past. What they're doing is they're bringing the past into the present. And we must understand.
That's very important.
We must understand that what people are doing is they're not living in the past, because it's impossible to live in the past. The past is gone; it's never coming back. So it's impossible to live in the past. So physically, we can't get to the past, but we have consciousness, and one of the facets of consciousness is it allows us to go back mentally into the past, and to draw from the past and bring it into the present. So we're living in the present, but we must go back into the past mentally, to draw what we need from the past in order to be successful in the present. So let me put it to you this way.
Would you say that the past, the present, and the future is all one?
Yes. I was you're anticipating where I'm going, but before I go there, So We can't live in the past. We have to just be clear on that. Yeah, we're in the present, and nobody's capable of living in the past. It's just impossible. We're in the present, and that's it. And that's where we have to do what we have to do in the present. Yeah, we can't do it in the future. We have to wait for the future to come, become the present before we can do it. You understand? But we have mental capacity. Yeah, more than any other animal to look into the past and to look into the future. This is the genius of humanity. This is our special capacity that the others don't have in the same way. All they know is that bigger animals come to eat me, let me run. Yeah, that's where the animal kingdom is basically. Yeah, but we have the ability to plan into the future. We have the ability to draw from the past. Let me talk a little on the importance of the past. Yeah. And I'm going to put history and park it for a moment. Okay. Sometimes you just have to park it just for a moment, so that we can use analogies to help us to understand the importance of history. And that's what we mean for the sister who made her comments on the tape before. Yeah. Now, I want you to imagine, and many of us don't have to imagine. Many of us have got elders who have lost their memory. Alzheimer's disease. You know, we have it in our family. Our elders, they reach a certain age. And they can't remember anything. They can't remember who they are. Yeah. Now, when a person has Alzheimer's disease, or one of those memory loss type disease, sometimes you can get it through stroke or something like that. You understand? But when you lose your memory, you become. I'm going to use this word. I don't mean it in a derogatory way, but you become useless. I don't mean it in a derogatory way. Yeah. By useless, I mean you're not even able to help yourself. Yeah. Your memory can be so bad that you just wet yourself. You defecate on yourself. You don't even know what you're doing. You're just doing it. Yeah. When your memory reaches to that level, you actually become quote unquote useless. Yeah. Everything has to be done for you. You can't do anything for yourself. Everything has to be done for you. So we must understand that Alzheimer's, the memory loss associated with Alzheimer's, is a serious thing, and ultimately it leads to death. That's where Alzheimer's actually leads. Ultimately, it leads to death. And we've seen, some of us have even had to nurse our elders, you understand, to the point of death. It's a tragic thing to have to see. Yeah. Now we have to understand that memory to the individual is the equivalent of history to the collective. You see, history is just memory, but it's our memory. It's not one person's memory. It's it's our memory. Yeah. When a whole people lose their history, lose their memory, in other words, what we have are people who are like Alzheimer's. Yeah. So we have a people now who are becoming increasingly whatless. I don't mean to be derogatory, but I'm just describing the condition of a people that can't remember. Yeah. In the same way you can see in the simple case of the Alzheimer's sufferer. Yeah. When it's a whole people and we start to forget about our history, when we don't know tutus what happened to us in the past. Yeah. We can't tell you about Malcolm X or Marcus Garvey or Kwame Nkrumah. We don't even know, let alone go back to fear of time and all that. We just, we don't know anything. All we know is bashment or whatever it is. That's, in the moment. Just no little bashment, not to wine good and them kind of thing there. What happens in that situation? Let's go back to the Alzheimer's now. So what happens in that situation is the Alzheimer's person has to be looked after. Yeah. Now, if it's the daughter or the son of the Alzheimer's sufferer looking after them, if they're a good daughter or son, they'll do a good job. They do the best they can. They love their parents. They give them life. You understand? They do the best they can for it. But what happens if it's a racist and it's an African? Isn't that the time when they just plant the licks on? Because they could just lick you, and you can't even tell anybody you get licked. Because your memory's so gone, you don't even know how to say, well, it licked me, you know. You can't even tell anybody else, because you've been so stupefied, by the loss of memory. So now, when it comes to us as a people now, when we can't draw on our memory, yeah? And remember, the ones that are looking after us now, it's not our picnic them that are look after we. You know? It's not like that. Yeah, the ones that are looking after, they call them the police. Yeah, they call them the prison officer. They call them the clinical one. Them in the mental hospital. That's the ones that's looking after us. Yeah, and they don't too like African people either. Yeah. So now when we're now in their care, no wonder you have deaths in custody in the police station, deaths in custody in the police, deaths in custody in the mental hospital, anywhere they get us, death in custody. No, fit African man running around football pitch, play football all the time, run miles every day, and all these kind of things. Suddenly go in police station, drop dead, may have a heart attack. Anybody ever hear such a thing? So when we apply the notion of memory to ourselves, not even talking about history, but it is history to ourselves. Our history is our protection, and we must go back and fetch it every day. Because you see, the thing is, if you lose your memory, then you forget who are your enemies. If you forget who your enemy is, you're in big trouble. The sister forgot who her enemy is. Because she's not interested in memory. She said she don't even want to know history. She's not interested in her memory. Why can't you just be a millionaire like me? That's where the sister's coming from. So she's not interested in memory. So she don't even know who her enemies are. Yeah? So she's sitting among her enemy, and no doubt, even whether she's millionaire or not, they slap millionaires too. Yeah? Look what they did to O.J. Simpson. Yeah? Wasn't O.J. Simpson millionaire?
Yeah, true.
You know? So they slap her. So she's catching her licks. And she's so full now. She's like Alzheimer's. She's scratching her head. Why are they hitting me like this? You know, the sister won't even understand that she said they're licking me, but why are they licking me? I'm a millionaire like them. You're an African. You know, you're an African. That's why you're catching the licks. Yeah, and you should be siding with your other Africans, and you should be going to the Africans that you're putting down and learning the history from them, so that you can come and talk sense on the program next time they come to interview you. You know, so I'm just touching on that history point. I'm just touching on that history point, and let me just close the history point by saying this. Yeah, that successful people. What constitutes a successful people? Successful people are the ones that can go into the past, get what they need from the past, and draw that into the present and work on it. Yeah. The other facet of successful people is the ability to go into the future. Yeah, to draw from the future, bring it into the present, and work towards it. You see, you have to be drawing from the past and the future one time, all the time, all the time, all the time. Yeah. How do you go into the future? You go into the future by visioning, by objective setting. Aims, objectives, visions. And you vision into the future, you look into the future and you say, this is the future that I want. Or for us, this is the future that we want. You understand? We must look into the future and we must decide, this is the future that we want. Yeah? And then we draw on the history. Yeah? And then we work on that vision, and that thing there called strategy. When you're drawing the vision, the aims, objectives, everything back. You draw, that's the plan, the strategy. You draw that into the present. Yeah? You draw the past into the present. You draw your resources in the present. And you work on them. And you take 2 steps this way. Towards the vision. Yeah? So successful people are a people who draw their history into the present. Not forget it, but draw it into the present. Because if you don't know what to draw into the present, you're done. Yeah? And if you don't know where you're going, you're done. Yeah? So you must draw from the past. You must draw from the present. You must bring it into the present. We live in the present. You can't be anywhere else but the present. And you must work on it in order to achieve your aims, your objectives, your goals, your vision, and all these good things that we desire for ourselves into the future.
Whoa. And listen, man, when you come again, man, you have to really bring that reason again, because that just gives some clarity You know, the brother said, you know, you have a draw from the past, you know, right? Right, draw from the past, look at the future, it tells you your vision, strategies, and work on your present. I know anybody break it down like that, you know? That is just so beautiful, 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 beautiful. You know? Well, boy, you've got me, you got me singing here, boy. I'm gonna tell you that, man. You got me singing here, boy. You got me singing. Hold on.
Talking about Jamaica, which is spending more money repaying debt repayments than they are spending on education and health.
Exactly.
So how are the Caribbean countries going to move out from there when they expect to do that? Talking about the freedom for countries.
Who's got a perfect record?
Well, nobody, but compared to lots of other countries, and you'd have to make variations even within Africa between the ghastly mess that the Belgian made in the Congo compared to the relatively balanced way that we came out of a country like
King Leopold,
Zambia.
one of the horrors of history.
Well, just a great, you know, and then you've got Pol Pot, which we forget about here. And it just seems to me that we need to step back and say, this is over now. Yes, we are sorry. Yes, we need to regret it. We can't sort it financially, except perhaps by overseas relief, except by debt remission, except by other ways of looking forward and rebuilding the global economy. But to keep looking back and saying, well, this passes down 15 generations, doesn't do anyone any favours.
But forgive me, the worst possible reason to embark on overseas aid is to make yourself feel better. The reason to do it is because you think it's making an improvement on the ground. If you go into it in order to assuage your own guilt and you're signing the checks without really looking at whether it's making things better or worse, then almost certainly it's going to make things worse.
And just very quickly, and that's why we should be in Europe backing the Ukrainians who were shafted by the Nazis and the Soviets and pushing back against your argument on that one.
Right. You know, he's a noted Eurosceptic. James, you've been, you know, I can see from your facial expressions, you've been engaged in this debate. Do you want to say something about this debate?
Sure. It's an extremely interesting debate. In fact, we had it in the car on the way down here this morning. We started it off. I think a couple of things. First of all, I agree with Daniel that these are terrible evils, and Britain was the country that stood by, and actually, in fact, it was the Royal Navy, which was instrumental in stopping the trade. And I think that's extremely important and should be actually celebrated. And as I say, no country was perfect, but Britain was probably better than a lot of other countries. And so for us to sort of be the first port of call in demanding reparations it's just slightly strange, really.
No, it's not. And in fact, what trade? What slave trade? That's not a term that comes from us. In the same way Jewish people talk about a Shoah, a Holocaust. Yeah. For us, it was a Holocaust. Sure. For us, we cannot move on. And it's not a victimhood thing. There are two dimensions to repairs or reparations. Internal and external. Internal is what we owe ourselves, how we have to reclaim our agency and our self-determination.
But do what the Jewish community does then, and light candles and pass the
No, they do more than that. There was the establishment of the State of Israel and billions of dollars to maintaining it in terms of compensation. It wasn't just about lighting candles.
Well, should we feel guilty?
No,
is it about...
no, this is not about a guilt complex. It's not about white guilt.
But if you've got, if you have a
no.
transmission, an intergenerational, I have to write it down because it's kind of
trauma.
Intergenerational transmission of trauma
and depression.
Is there then? There was a story recently about Dominic Cumberbatch's great grandfather, whatever, was a slave owner. There are others. Is there an intergenerational transmission of guilt?
Well, I think so, and I think that's part of why this debate gets shut down and why it gets minimised. But that's not what we want. What we want is a conversation so that there can be greater understanding in British society as to how we've come to be where we are.
So that's about history. What we need then to tidy up history, put things that were deleted back in. Black History Month, this is about our community helping one another and passing the world on rather than going back, you owe me this, you owe me that. We need to sort ourselves out first and then we can spread the word.
Well, it's both, actually. It's not one or the other. It's both internal and it's both the fact that there are people today, families today, institutions in Britain today that are basically surviving on, thriving on ill-gotten.
Yes. So, boy, good to me have boy, Omowale Ru Pert, man, because you know, good to have you here just breaking things down to us and give us some clarity. Make it simple. You know, just make it simple. You know, you're in school and you're a little teacher who you like and just talk to you in a certain kind of way. All you have to do is just nod your head and just agree and say, yes, man. This is just music to the ears, you know. This man, we're going to have to do it regular, man. You know what I mean? And just breaking this down to us, you know. So, you know, we're in depth in terms of your insight, you know. I don't want to comment about what's been said there, Omowale, but what I want to do is talk a little bit about, get your perspective also about reparation and what's your perspective and, you know, your vision around all this, you know?
Okay. I mean, it's interesting. In this book here, African People Abolished the Slave Trade, there's a section in there that looks at the issue of reparations. So if people really want to know, it's good to get that book. You'll also find a section in this book here, Pan-Africanism, the Battlefront, you know, which speaks on the issue of reparations, just in passing, yeah? But what is reparations in a nutshell? We don't have to make these things complicated, you know? It is to repair, to make good that which was made bad.
Okay
then make it bad, we have to make it good.
Repairing.
Yeah.
Okay.
What it is in the name.
Yeah.
It is to repair.
It's repair.
Yeah? That means there's something wrong. We talked about me being a wicked somebody to come trouble your leg. You understand? Yeah? To repair it is reparations. To make the leg come good again. You know, me being the wicked one make your leg go bad, so it's me have to come and make it good again. So that is the essence of what reparations is.
Just about repairing.
Yeah? It's not about me coming to you and saying, well, Brother Dougie, I did your badness and, you know, grudge for. I don't really want to say sorry, but, you know, all of £50. What's that? What's that? It's your leg you want. It's not some £50 you want. It's your leg you want. Yeah. And even if I say to you, well, you know, Brother Dougie, I'm a rich man now. Yeah. I won't give you £50. I'll give you 50,000. Yeah. Well, I mean, you might not object. Yeah. But it's your leg you want. It's the repair that you want. You understand? That's worth more than 50,000. You understand? And whatever figure I give you, yeah, you don't want to have no foot, you know, for the rest of your life, and have you know, with a big bank account. I know some people might make that choice, but come on, let's be sensible now. Let's be sensible now. We want our health to be in order. Money can't buy your health. You understand? And so, as a people, we want our health to be in order. Now, we're not saying, no, we don't want the money. We'll take the money because it's due. You understand? It's due, so we'll take the money. But what we actually want is the repairs. Now, in order to get to repairs, let's go and look at the damage. Let's just quickly look at the damage. I'm just doing it very shorthand now, because if we look at the damage, we could be here for the next few weeks looking at the damage, and we still won't cover it all. You understand? But just a little shorthand for the damage. Yeah. There's a logic to imperialism. Imperialism is our enemy, by the way. Yeah, European imperialism. Yeah, and what they do, they go to other people's land, and when they get there, them start thief. That's the first part of the three-tier logic to imperialism. Them thief. Yeah. So. You know, is that your book? Is that your book?
Yeah.
Yeah? You know? Yeah? So you know, when I grab your book now, you must want your book back. Yeah? You must want your book back. And if I'm not going to give it back, you must come and get your book back. You understand? By hook or by crook. Yeah? Well, in the European logic, I'm not European imperialist, by the way. That's why I give it back to you. You wouldn't get it back if it's European imperialist. You wouldn't get it back. Yeah. What they then do is when you come to get back your things, first you come reasonable. You understand? Look, you say, look, okay, probably you made a mistake. You didn't mean to thief it. You just, you know, just give me back my things, and you know, and everything will be all right. And then they start telling you, says you try thief the thing from them. And they come with all kind of stupidness. Yeah. And then you just say, well, I've had enough of this. I'm gonna have to take it back. And so you got to take back your thing. fight broke out. That's when they pull out the cannon. They don't even pull out the gun, they pull out the cannon. You understand? And the submachine gun and all them kind of things there. So the second phase of imperialism, is where the first phase is where they thief. The second phase is where they commit genocide against the people that they've stolen from. So they went to the Americas, they stole the American Indians' land. When the American Indians say, "What do you think you do?" And the American Indian them start saying, "Well, we talk to these men, they got false tongue and them kind of thing. We can't talk any sense to them. It's war, you understand?" Then they just kill off the American Indian them. That's genocide. That's the second part of imperialism. Yeah? The people, they're wicked. Wicked. You know? So they kill off. That's the second part. So the first part is they thief. And the second part is they commit genocide, then kill off the people them. Yeah? And then the third part of the logic of imperialism is where they lie like hell. And just lie, you see? Lie till they can't lie no more. Yeah? And they institutionalize the lies. It's just not one lie, but it's a whole system of lies. Yeah? So they everything they tell you in history is lies. Organized, they write whole books of lies. You understand? To falsify history so that you don't know what's going on. And if you can't remember your history, they fill it for you with their stupidness. You understand? So you definitely don't know what's happening now. Yeah? So that's one way that they lie. Yeah? The other way that they lie is, they got their mass media.
That's right.
Yeah? They have TV, them have, you name it. They have radio, they have everything. Satellite, they have everything. Just lies. Yeah, everything, just lies. Yeah? And the lie that they tell is a lie that says that they're good and everybody else is bad. Yeah? Well, how can you be good when you go and kill off 100 million American Indians? Another 300 million African, I don't even know how much 100 million Aborigines. Just go around the world just killing off everybody. Yeah? You're obviously bad. These are bad things. That's obviously a bad thing to do. But they write the history to say it's good. Yeah? They write the history to say the Cowboys won the West. Yeah? That means that's the lie that says that they kill off the American Indians. They couldn't hide the fact they kill off 100 million people. So they have to say, well, we won the West. They have to write another story on top of it, like so them do something good. Yeah. I mean, it's serious. So there's this 3-tier logic to imperialism. They thief, they murder, and they lie. Yeah. That's the way that imperialism operates. Now, what did they do in Africa? Yeah. Well, they did the same thing in Africa. Then come to Africa. Yeah. They start off, they say, well, we're going to teach some people first. Yeah? They thief out people, but they're just thieving out people. Then them lions say, we're the ones that was enslaving. And then come learn it from us. They're good at the lies, you understand? And just they thief out so many of us. Yeah? The Africa turn weak. You understand? And the ones that they thief, it's like the young ones then. You understand? The young, strong ones then, because they want them to go and work in the Americas. So they thief out all the young ones then. Yeah? The pure old people and picnic left over. Yeah? So now, they can just send in their army and just whoop the old people them and the children, and we can't stop them. Yeah? So when they go into our land now and do that, it's at that point that they start to thief the land. Yeah, so they're thieving the land now from under. They took away our army, Senegal, Caribbean, and Americas, and all the rest of it. Yeah, and then now they're thieving. They're actually thieving the land from under our feet, and that's what they did. And then they say, well, now that we control the land, we will enslave African people on their own land. That's called colonialism. Yeah. And then what we do is, something, we took all of those people all the way over to the Americas. And what they were doing over there, some of them was planting cotton, some of them was planting sugar cane. And really, we really needed to keep them in Africa. Because in Africa, we can use them to dig gold. Right. We can use them to dig diamonds. You know, we can use them to dig uranium so that we can build up nuclear weapons and so on, yeah? Which one's more profitable? Obviously, if they can get gold, it's better than getting cotton. It's better than getting sugar, yeah? So why go to all this trouble of taking us all the way over there, when we got the richest soil in the world underneath our feet, and all they have to do is enslave us in our own land, yeah, and make us dig up the things for them, yeah, with our bare hand. Remember, they don't give us tools now, yeah. They send our children to go and dig for these things with their actual bare hand in the ground, yeah, with mercury. And you know, mercury poison you and all them kind of, and they make the children go in there with their bare hands with the mercury and all them kind of thing, in the soil. So they came to Africa, and they thief, and they thief, and then thief, and then thief, and then I mean, we can't describe the extent to which they thief, yeah? And they literally stole everything that they could get their hands on, literally. But they didn't stop there. Because European imperialism is an incredible beast, yeah? It can even steal the things that it can't get your hands on. Even if it can't get its hands on it, it will still thief it, yeah? So they started to steal the immaterial aspects of our culture. It's one thing to thief all of our wealth, but they started to steal the immaterial aspects of our culture. This is the psychological bit that you were alluding to, yeah? So they said, but hold on, you know have God? You know have God? Yeah? Well, the new rule is now, you know have no more God. We have God for you. Follow this one. Yeah? Follow this one. Yeah? And do what this God tell you to do. Yeah? And they said, well, that's not good enough. That's not secure enough. You know have name? Kwame, me never heard a name called Kwame before. Omowale, me never heard them kind of name there before. Your name is Stephen. It's a Christian name. Yeah? Your name is Michael. Yeah? Your name is George. And your name is Toby. You remember Toby. Yeah? So them take away the name. Yeah? And give us some kind of foreign kind of funny kind of names that we never heard of before. Yeah? And you know, they go through all of the immaterial aspects of our culture, and the trick that they use is this. Yeah? They say let me take a step back. What they do is, in order to steal the immaterial aspects of our culture, they first prevent you from practicing your own culture. That's the first thing. Yeah? And they fill the vacant gap, a void is created, and they fill the vacant gap with their culture. Yeah? So they stop you from using your name. They fill the vacant gap with their name. People call it psychological this, psychological that, but they know what they're doing, you know. It's not no complicated thing, you know. It's, you know, everybody come with these complicated psychological this, psychological that, etc., etc. Yeah, and so you're not even allowed to use your name. You have to use their name. Yeah, and then when it comes to God, well, you're not allowed to have a God. Well, you know, what right do you have to have God? Yeah. We have God for you, man. We have God for you. Look, same picture there. Yeah, same picture there. That's the one. Yeah, he look white and he have blue eyes and all them kind of things. Same picture. That's the one. Yeah, and so when you're not allowed to practice your own things, then you just kind of practice with what you got, isn't it? You know, I mean, if you ain't got no shoes and somebody bring your shoes with a hole in it, it's best you just use the shoes with a hole in it, isn't it? Rather than go barefoot. Yeah. And so in this way, they stole the immaterial aspects of our culture. Yeah. So at one level, they dance us. Them turn us fool. Yeah. Because we're forgetting who we are. Yeah. We're forgetting where we come from. We're forgetting our history. And then they fill it up with some kind of foolishness that they made up. Yeah. So that we become like them now. Yeah. And we think it's good to be like them. Except that some of us say, no, this is not right. Something is just not right. Yeah? And we're so confused by the whole thing, we just turn fool for real, you understand? We just mad up. Yeah, and they say, well, this one there mad up. Send him at the mental hospital. Yeah, we have mental hospital for this one because him can't quite work out how it is. How him should behave like a European. You understand? He's not good enough at behaving like a European. So send him at the madhouse. Give him some injection and fix him up. And then when he fix up, send him back. See if him can behave like European. I mean, it's a system that they've got in place. I don't come with all these complicated psychological theories, because you can actually dissect them and see what they're actually doing. So then come with the teeth in, and they teeth anything they can get their hands on, and they teeth even the things that they cannot get their hands on, including our history.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay then. As I said, we have the wise man inside the house, the scholar Omowale inside the house. We got less than 10 minutes. The time's so going so quick. What we're gonna do now, Omo's gonna touch a little bit about his book, and then Tamera, you have anything? Or you want to do a poem, Tamera?
Yes, I'll do a poem when you're ready.
Yeah. All right then. What I'm gonna do now, because we've got 10 minutes, I want to speed on quickly. And I want to talk about a little bit about the book you have there, and also, just let people know.
Oh yes, the event, of course.
The event was taking place. We mentioned earlier on. I'm gonna meet Tamera, because Tamera's the expert, when it comes to. He's gonna find his glasses, but just talking about glasses. That this Sunday our roads lead to Redbridge Central Library, which is in Ilford, Clements Road. The postcode is IG1 1E8A, and the time is from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mission only £1. Admission only £1. And we do have several speakers. In fact, we have 8 speakers speaking about different kind of subject matter. But one thing we have to do, we definitely like to pencil in Omowale one event we're doing in the near future. Talking about Pacific Rand history and so forth, because this is the man of the moment. See, Tamera, you ready for it? You want to read all this thing, Emma? Yes. Nice, man. Come true, Tamera.
Yes. The health, Black Brits, find your voice. Proudly presents the Health, Wealth and Heritage Tour. Sunday, 6th of October 2019. There'll be topics on fibroids, prostate, diabetes, wills and probate, investment, business, history and legacy, education, and Afrocentrism. Also, there'll be stalls, jewelry, beauty, food, art and crafts. This is all at the Redbridge Central Library, Clements Road, Ilford, IG1 IEA. 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Admission £1. Seminar speakers include Pauline Clark, Honey and Legal, the reason for writing a will and ensuring executed properly. Also there's Kensu, em-Hru, mental health and moving from untruth to truth. Annette Watson, psychotherapist, understanding the black man. Lyndon Wishart, author, The Inspired Diabetic, self-cured in 105 days of type 2 diabetes. Jenny Russell, how to fight fibroids and how to live a fabulous life after 50. Vasco Stevenson, how to improve our lives through healthy eating. Mervyn Barrett, personal development and the art of self-discovery. 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Redbridge Central Library, Clements Road, Ilford, IG1 1EA. Be there. I will.
Okay then. So got less than 7 minutes left. So Omowale, I want to just let people know about the book, please.
Yes, certainly.
Should have mentioned a bit more.
Yeah, we didn't really touch on the books today, but that's okay. I mean,
next time
we can always do something again, you know. I mean, I've got 3 books here at the moment with me. I should have brought another one actually, and those are the main books that are out at the moment. So the one that's standing erect there is Pan-Africanism: The Battlefront. And what it does is it looks at Pan-Africanism in relation to its nemesis, in relation to its enemy. The enemy is neocolonialism, the enemy is imperialism, the enemy is capitalism. And so it looks at Pan-Africanism and it looks at the battle between the two. So in there you'll find, there's a bit of military in there. A little bit of the text is on war. And just some lessons to be learned from wars that have been fought in the past. Also, that book shows you that the world wars were really about Africa. So the evidence to show people that the world wars are really about Africa is contained in that book. It's very, very important, for that purpose. And it looks at certain parts in the gestation of Pan-Africanism, in the recent history of Pan-Africanism. I won't say more than that now because we've only got a short time left. This book here that I'm holding up is Pan-Africanism from Program to Philosophy. If you want to know what Pan-Africanism is at all of its levels, this book is the explanation of what Pan-Africanism actually is. It's written, all of these books are written as kind of manuals, so that if we really want to know the subject or the gateway to the subject, if you read this book and you master this book, you've got the foundation for understanding. So these two form part of a trio of books on Pan-Africanism, the third one not yet published. In fact, I'm still working on the third one. So the third one will be out next year. I'm gonna publish the third part of this series next year, and that one will be called Pan-Africanism: Material-Based Concepts, dealing with a lot of the theory of Pan-Africanism. So this outlines what Pan-Africanism is at many different levels. And the third book that I've got here is African People Abolished the Slave Trade. Now this is the book that we were discussing, aspects of this book the last time I came into the studio. And if you are somebody that is into reparations, you need to know this history. What we have is a situation where many of our people have a kind of a clue about reparations, but haven't necessarily studied the history. We must study the history. Remember, if you don't study the history, you're the Alzheimer's person if you don't study the history. But it's a serious thing. It's a serious thing. So all these books, but this one in particular in relation to reparations, is designed to bring our people up to a level where it's going to be very difficult to fool our people. So this one is called African People Abolish the Slave Trade. I mean, I'm happy to come back anytime, and talk about them in a little bit more detail. But I don't want to take up all the program time on that now.
Definitely, if you're available, goes within next week, man. You know what I mean? Or definitely the week after. We definitely want you here on a regular basis just to give it up to speed. When it comes to politics and history, you're the man, you're the scholar man. Okay then. So at this point here, we're gonna bring this to a close, right? I'm gonna ask Tamera to sign us out with
Can I just say a goodbye?
Yeah, of course.
I feel a bit bad just kind of exiting without even saying goodbye.
Sorry,
Just to say again, to reiterate where I started off from. It has been a real pleasure to spend time with you, Brother Dougie, with you, Brother Tamera, here in the studio. And thank you very much just for allowing me to participate. I really do appreciate that. I really, truly do appreciate that. So thank you very much. And again, just to thank management.
Yes, sir.
You know?
Thank you, brother.
And to say to the sisters and brothers who are listening, you know, thank you for, you know, just being a part of it, you know. I mean, hopefully there'll be a time when people feel kind of, you know, encouraged to ring in and interact, because, you know, when people ring and interact, it just liven up everything, you know. It just liven up everything, you know. So it would be fantastic if you're able to do that. But all I'm doing is just saying some thank you. So let me stop there.
Yeah, man, respect. All right then. Tamara, you want to?
Yes, well, brothers and sisters, I'd just like to say something about what Brother Omowale spoke about earlier on, about it. When you go to the past, you must harness, you know, what stuff you know about the past and bring it into the present moment. Or if you go into the future, you get the stuff from the future and you bring it into the present moment, because the now is all that we have. The only problem is that there's some of us actually, when we go into the past, we get stuck there. Or we go into the future and we get stuck there. And in the past, that brings on depression, or it can bring on anxiety attacks and that sort of thing. So it's having that skill to be able to bring these things into the present moment. And I'm sure Brother Omowale will have certain techniques he can tell you how to be able to achieve that. I suppose even I myself might have be able to tell you about that, because I lived in the past for a very long time, and I'm no longer in that place anymore. I'm no longer a depressed man. But anyway, I'd just like to say one poem from my Ex-Gangsters Odyssey album before we depart from here, and it's called Ereline. Now, that's something from the past. That was my sweetheart from the age of 6 to 7. I ask people, how many of you have been out with your cousins? No one says yes, or they put their hand up, but I have. It's a healthy thing to do, brothers and sisters. We mustn't park these things up in our minds and let it fester in there. And so anyway, here's the song, the poem actually, called Ereline. Ereline! Ereline was my best friend, my cousin and girlfriend. I never ever had to pretend. We lived close together by the sea, by the beach called Lagon. I loved the beauty of her mind and skin, and her spirit deep within. That's my Ereline, childhood sweetheart and darling. So when I had to leave her, I was sorely grieved, as I held her hands that night on the stars and full moonlight. Although I was just a child, I felt like a man inside. I touched her intimately, enthralled by her beauty, knowing I'd soon be missing our touching, cuddling, and kissing. Although we were children, we knew we were more than just friends, and that loving feeling would never